Warrior Lore. Chapter 2192. Io. That's right. Yin Qinglian came to her senses and covered her mouth. I knew it. Reverend Jing Su's reputation is so bad. How could he let Junior Martial Brother go so easily? He must have a powerful method. But what can we do? Xiang Yang was even more certain. After all, Xiaohua had said that there was no way around it. If it wasn't Reverend Jing Su's method, then what was it? Alas! Yin Qinglian sighed and looked at Xiaohua's cave again. It was incomparably desolate. Let's go. Xiang Yang waved his hand and said, This matter is the same as before. Don't tell Master's wife in detail. Just say that Junior Martial Brother Xiao is going into seclusion. Don't mention anything else, just in case you make a mistake by saying too much. I know. Let Master's wife tell Master. Yin Qinglian flew away and answered in a low voice. Xiaohua sealed the cave entrance and sat down cross-legged. He operated his mental cultivation method, and the true essence in his meridians flowed smoothly. However, no matter how he urged his mental cultivation method, the earth attributes spiritual energy of heaven and earth that had accumulated in his meridians couldn't be mobilized, let alone refined. Immediately, Xiaohua sensed the faint sound of thunder in the cave. However, although the faint sound of thunder could stir up the deposited spiritual energy, it was only enough to stir it up. It wasn't enough to activate the spiritual energy. However, this wasn't outside of Xiaohua's expectations. He pondered for a moment and thought to himself, my current method should be to refine the accumulated spiritual energy of heaven and earth in my meridians and physical body. However, if I want to advance both at the same time, I need to multitask. Otherwise, I won't be able to cure it completely. Rather than that, I might as well split my primordial spirit. One primordial spirit will cultivate the dragon transformation art, and the other will cultivate the celestial body empowerment technique. In addition, the sword heart energy seed technique has been successful. This means that I can combine the primordial spirit strengthening technique, the primordial spirit splitting technique, and the ghost cultivation technique. Since that's the case, I should take advantage of my secluded cultivation to split these primordial spirits out. Every strand of primordial spirit will be dedicated to a specific task. It's better than me cultivating alone. Immediately after, Xiaohua thought for a long time. He sat cross-legged, made an extremely strange gesture with both hands, and pointed at his forehead. The spiritual power in his body gradually surged to the gesture in his hands, and his divine sense also contracted. After another incense stick of time, Xiaohua's face showed a painful expression, and bean-sized sweat droplets appeared on his forehead again. Just like before, an unparalleled pain, a sharp pain that was tearing himself apart, and a feeling that was worse than death came from Xiaohua's head. Although Xiaohua was mentally prepared for this pain, when it really came, Xiaohua was still unable to resist it. A feeling of extreme powerlessness arose in his heart. Rumble. There was a tremor in the air, and Little Silver once again jumped between the spirit plants in alarm. Little Yellow was also startled awake. Xiaohua didn't have time to talk to it in detail. Quick! Xiaohua's hands trembled as he made the gesture. As the incantation entered his body, Xiaohua felt his mind go blank. His head swayed, and it was as if the entire world had become two overlapping worlds. Seeing that a strand of primordial spirit had smoothly flown out, Xiaohua was secretly delighted. He then used a secret technique to channel that strand of primordial spirit into his meridians. Originally, Xiaohua had expected some unexpected things to happen during this process, since his meridians weren't like the dream executioners, and would reject it a little. Who would have thought that when the primordial spirit entered his meridians, there wouldn't be any abnormalities at all? There was an incomparably heavy pressure, as if a huge rock was pressing down on him, and that strand of primordial spirit fell into a deep sleep. Great! If it wasn't for the lingering pain, Xiaohua would have clapped his hands and laughed heartily. He knew that the strand of primordial spirit had already successfully fused with his meridians. He only needed to use the secret technique to nurture and strengthen that primordial spirit. After it woke up, it would be able to independently and actively use the dragon transformation art, just like how he was using his own cultivation method. Compared to the blood shadow art, it couldn't be mentioned in the same breath. Fusing primordial spirit into the meridians. I'm afraid that in the entire Xiaoyu continent, only this young master can do it, right? Other people wouldn't even think about it. Xiaohua was secretly pleased. This is also because the blood shadow art is used so smoothly that it can go so smoothly. Mother. At this time, Goldie's dry voice sounded. What is this for? Xiaohua laughed. This is Mother's ever-changing. Don't be afraid. I reckon there will be more tremors like this in the future. Oh. Seeing that Xiaohua was fine, Goldie closed its eyes and prepared to sleep again. Don't be anxious. Xiaohua hurriedly said. Tell little Silver to help Mother find a place. Xiaohua hurriedly described a place with abundant spiritual energy. Okay, Goldie chirped a few times at Little Silver. Little Silver nodded and kept somersaulting among the spiritual plants. Then, Goldie fainted. Looking at Little Dusk sleeping, Xiaohua was extremely envious. Damn it, look at Goldie. He only needs to eat and then sleep to improve. This young master has to put in a lot of effort and still has to endure the pain. This person is really not much different from other people. At this time, Xiaohua's primordial spirit was in severe pain and he couldn't circulate his energy. Xiaohua simply lay down on the ground to rest. At this time, the cave's restriction made some noise. It can't be Qian Dihong, right? Xiaohua thought. This guy is such a miser? Even more so than this young master? Opening the cave's restriction, as expected, Qian Dihong was standing in front of the cave, but his face was full of worry. Seeing Xiaohua's face as white as paper and even more concerned, he clapped his hands and took out 2 jade slips. He said, Junior Marshal Brother Xiao, just now I went to see great-grandfather. From what he said, I'm afraid that you've taken too many pills and there's too much medicinal energy in your body. If you don't remove it in time, not only will it affect your realm, it will also destroy your meridians. At this time, you shouldn't cultivate anymore. Instead, you should first expel the medicinal energy. This jade slip contains a secret technique of my thunder-shocking palace, especially for your situation. So it's like this. Xiaohua was really grateful in his heart. He took the 2 jade slips and scanned them with his divine sense. One of them was naturally the pill formula of the face-retaining pill, and the other was a cultivation method. Xiaohua roughly looked at it and frowned. He said, according to this secret technique, won't all these medicinal energy be expelled? It's really a waste. When Qian Dihong heard this, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He scolded, Xiaohua, you don't want to live anymore. What time is it now, and you're still so greedy? Great-grandfather said that because you forcefully wanted to build your foundation, you took too many foundation-building pills, which caused the medicinal energy to accumulate. Although you've already built your foundation, your meridians are newly formed, and you still don't have the energy to refine these medicinal energy. If you don't expel it, what else can you do? Don't think about it. If the old doesn't go, the new won't come. Don't think about wasting these pills. Then, he said, as for that face-retaining pill, Junior Marshal Brother doesn't need to be in a hurry to refine it. Right now, you can't easily use magic power. It's better to wait until after you enter seclusion. Then what did you bring the pill formula for? Xiaohua asked curiously. Damn it, if I don't take advantage of great-grandfather's good mood, when will I get it? If I give it to you, I won't think about it anymore. Besides, with your greedy face, wouldn't it be more comfortable to take the pill formula? So that you won't be willing to part with the medicinal energy in your meridians. Qian Dihong waved his hand and said, Okay, quickly enter seclusion. By all means, don't be unwilling to use the secret method. After he finished speaking, he turned around and flew away for fear of delaying Xiaohua's seclusion. This guy really knows my heart. Xiaohua rubbed his nose. His heart felt warm as he returned to the immortal's cave. The pain in his head seemed to have lessened a lot. Only at this time did Xiaohua have the mind to look at his own immortal's cave. This immortal's cave was no different from Xiangyang's immortal's cave. Except for the place being bigger, the internal structure was exactly the same. As soon as he entered, he saw a hall used to receive guests. Then, there was a small door leading to the back. The back was divided into two halves. One half was a nursery with flat ground for planting spiritual plants. The other half was divided into several spaces. Looking at it, it seemed to be a quiet room for refining pills and cultivating. However, at this time, it was empty inside, waiting for Xiaohua to arrange it at will in the future. Really not creative. I reckon that all the Immortals' caves of Thunderous Palace disciples are like this. Xiaohua instantly thought of Xiang Yang's Immortals' cave inside. There was a trace of helplessness on his face as he clearly thought of Haoming City's Immortals' cave. Forget it. How can this young master fix this now, when I have time in the future? Thinking this, Xiaohua suddenly laughed. Damn it. If this young master's entire Immortals' cave comes out again, wouldn't it be the legendary "A crafty rabbit has 3 burrows"? Then, Xiaohua's mouth trembled rapidly a few times. It was actually very similar to a rabbit's 3-petaled mouth. Come out, Little Silver. Xiaohua waved his hand, and Little Silver appeared in midair again. But at this time, Little Silver was clearly no longer astonished. His 2 bright mouse eyes turned, and without waiting for Xiaohua's instructions, he rushed out in a flash. There was no need for Xiaohua to tell him anything at all. Io, don't be in such a hurry. Xiaohua hurriedly raised his hand to stop him, but seeing that Little Silver had already scurried out of the cave that hadn't been sealed yet, he could only sigh. Ai, you still listen to your mother. Last time, you didn't move no matter how I told you to search for the spirit vein. Forget it. I can't cultivate for the time being, so I'll go take a look. Xiaohua then flew out of the Immortals' cave and opened the array. After Little Silver left the Immortals' cave, he sniffed the air with his little nose, which had faint golden threads, and then flew into the depths of 10,000 Thunder Valley. Seeing this, Xiaohua's eyes turned. He had been a disciple of 10,000 Thunder Valley for a long time, but he had never been on duty there, so he didn't know how his Shifu was on duty. If he entered 10,000 Thunder Valley now, he might run into something helpless. But given Xiaohua's current cultivation, how could a late Foundation establishment cultivator discover him? Thus, Xiaohua only hesitated for a moment before his figure flashed, and he gave chase. That's not right. Xiaohua followed Little Silver into the depths of 10,000 Thunder Valley, and the faint sound of thunder gradually grew louder. Both silent and loud thunder attacked Xiaohua, and even his state of mind was a little disturbed. Xiaohua sensed that something wasn't right. Is Little Silver mistaken? How can there be a spirit vein here? Even if there is a spirit vein, it's impossible for me to open an immortal residence here, right? -8. Chapter 2193. However, when Xiaohua released his Buddhist consciousness, he saw Little Silver's 2 bean-sized rat eyes glow, as if he had seen a spirit stone. Could it be that Little Silver has discovered some treasure? That was right. Wasn't a spirit-seeking mouse a rat that searched for spirit objects? It was only natural that Little Silver would be able to discover any treasure. It was just that the spirit-seeking mouse's greedy appearance was really too similar to Xiaohua's. After flying for half a day, Xiaohua's ears were already filled with the sound of thunder, but Little Silver didn't stop, and instead became even more excited. That's even more wrong. Realization dawned on Xiaohua at that moment. This guy couldn't have discovered the treasure in Myriad Thunder Valley, right? Io, not good, it's Shifu. Xiaohua's Buddhist consciousness suddenly saw a jade-green stone wall overflowing with magic power, and a helpless figure abruptly appeared, his face full of exhaustion. He had taken out a jade token in his hand, and seemed to be sealing the restriction. When he looked at Little Silver again, it was clear that he also felt helpless, and his small figure abruptly darted downwards like a thin white light, instantly falling into the ground. Little Silver can also escape through the earth? Seeing this, Xiaohua's mouth gaped slightly. He really hadn't expected this, but Xiaohua smiled bitterly in an instant. Do rats naturally know how to dig holes? So what if they can escape through the earth? Doesn't that whatever nether bat also know how to escape through the earth? Seeing that Little Silver had no choice but to seal the restriction, Little Silver's figure flashed in his direction. Xiaohua didn't dare be careless, and his figure flew swiftly as he also rushed underground. Unfortunately, he didn't notice anything unusual at all, and flew away from where Xiao Hua had stopped earlier, about 10 zhang away. Little Silver flew underground and didn't stop at all, continuing to flee forward until he was finally blocked by a restriction. Without the slightest hesitation, Little Silver opened his mouth and bit at the restriction. "Good boy, Little Silver." Xiao Hua hurriedly called out to Little Silver, but Little Silver ignored him and continued to swallow the spirit chi on the restriction mouthful by mouthful. Oh! Xiao Hua instantly remembered how Little Silver had bitten the imprisonment spell to save him when he had just entered the Imperial Thunder sect. He knew that Little Silver had the ability to swallow spirit chi. After that, Xiao Hua released his Buddhist perception and opened his Dharma eyes. When he looked at the restriction before him, he couldn't help but frown. This was an extremely powerful array. There were many restrictions within the array, layer upon layer, and all kinds of restrictions were linked together. It was very difficult to break through. Even if Xiao Hua's cultivation in array formations had improved greatly, it would still not be easy to break through. Forget it, let Little Silver try. Xiao Hua nodded slightly, and his Buddhist awareness swept over. He saw that this was a huge magic array that stretched for dozens of miles, and it enveloped all the valleys in front of it. Lightning flashed within the array, and all kinds of thunder were transmitted through the restriction. My goodness, if the outside of the formation is already so powerful, what about inside the formation? This should be the core of the 10,000 Thunder Valley. Xiao Hua understood in his heart, and his heart was filled with joy. Only a place where thousands of lightning bolts gathered would be able to stimulate the accumulated spiritual energy in his body. Admittedly, the array was powerful, but spirit mice were born to swallow spirit chi. It took Little Silver half a day before he finally bit off a strand of spirit chi in the array. With a crack, a bolt of lightning passed through the array and struck Little Silver. Xiao Hua was already prepared. He stretched out his hand to block in front of Little Silver. A wave of numbness spread up his arm, and a few strands of spirit chi were actually drawn out of his body by the lightning. At the same time, Xiao Hua swung his right hand again, and several rabbit spirit talismans hit the flaw that Little Silver had bitten out, blocking the area that was already starting to close up. Little Silver's body was like lightning, and before the lightning could leak out, his small figure scuttled into the array. Slow down a little. Xiao Hua smiled bitterly. He cast several more spirit talismans to widen the flaw, and then he also flew into the array. See, Xiao Hua had already imagined the core of the 10,000 Thunder Valley countless times before, but when he saw it with his own eyes, he couldn't help sucking in a cold breath. It was a deep valley surrounded by lightning, and the bottom couldn't be seen. But in the middle of the valley, which was several li away, there was a huge cone-shaped mountain peak that seemed to stand out of thin air. Countless bolts of lightning struck the mountain peak from top to bottom, and there wasn't the slightest gap at all. This is the 10,000 Thunder Valley? It's not just 10,000 bolts of lightning. Xiao Hua didn't dare release his Buddhist awareness or divine will. He only looked at the mountain peak in the distance, which stood tall amidst the millions of bolts of lightning, and sighed with emotion in his heart. Furthermore, the millions of bolts of lightning didn't fall from the sky, but from the void as they struck the mountain peak. Lightning flowed over the mountain peak and fell straight down into the deep black abyss below. Little Silver? Xiao Hua cried out in surprise. Little Silver's small body shuttled through the lightning with great familiarity. He had already flown more than 1,000 zhang, and his target was the mountain peak in the center of the 10,000 Thunder Valley. At this point, how could Xiao Hua not know what Little Silver was thinking? Little Silver probably really regarded the core of the 10,000 Thunder Valley as a treasure. Or perhaps, Little Silver wanted Xiao Hua to open up his cave residence here. Fuck, if that was the case, it would be the biggest joke in the world. Wouldn't Thunder Palace immediately pull out Xiao Hua's tendons and skin him alive? Squeak, squeak. Little Silver flew another li, unease on his face. He didn't dare move forward anymore and just stood in midair, his two front paws clasped together as if he was bowing, his eyes flashing. I understand. Xiao Hua nodded. With a flick of his sleeve, he put Little Silver into his space. Then he activated the bright thunder escape and flew toward the mountain peak. The bright thunder escape was swift to begin with, and in this space filled with lightning, he was even more like a fish in water. An unprecedented feeling of comfort actually emerged when he used the lightning escape technique. Xiao Hua's heart suddenly stirred as he thought to himself, the lightning escape technique should be used to escape amidst lightning. The Imperial Thunder sect had this 10,000 Thunder Valley. Was it where they cultivated the lightning escape in the beginning? It's just that the secret technique to avoid lightning was lost, and many cultivators didn't dare train here. So this place was abandoned? Don't you remember what Shifu said? Guarding the 10,000 Thunder Valley is a very difficult task. At first, it was highly valued, but later on, it wasn't so well received anymore. Just as he was thinking this, a huge bolt of lightning suddenly appeared in the air. Xiao Hua didn't have time to dodge at all before it struck him. A wave of numbness and soreness came from his body, and he fell from midair. Hiss! Xiao Hua didn't dare be careless. His phoenix Dharma body flew out of his body and flapped its wings to stabilize his body. Crack, crack. Before Xiao Hua could react at all, several bolts of lightning appeared and struck his phoenix Dharma body repeatedly. Sizzle. Electric light flowed into Xiao Hua's body. -8. Chapter 2194. Haha, great. Xiao Hua was overjoyed. This lightning not only mobilized the heaven and earth spiritual energy in his body, it also accelerated the refining of spiritual energy. This lightning is obviously different from the heavenly lightning of the lightning tribulation, and even more different from the thunderstorm of the Qianhe Sea. Xiao Hua was somewhat enlightened. Looks like there are many types of lightning in this world. Let's go. Xiao Hua obviously couldn't cultivate here. His figure swayed again, and he flew towards the mountain peak. During this period of time, the lightning became even more concentrated. The phoenix body couldn't take care of it in the end, so Xiao Hua had no choice but to release the Buddha Saraira. The lightning struck the Saraira, and like a brush, it gradually filled the Saraira with gold color. Escape. When he got close to the mountain, Xiao Hua used the earth escape technique, and his figure jumped into it. Fortunately, even though there were tens of thousands of lightning strikes, the mountain peak was still a mountain peak. Otherwise, Xiao Hua wouldn't be able to escape. Once he entered the mountain peak, Xiao Hua didn't hesitate anymore and directly escaped downwards. He only stopped when he couldn't escape anymore. The inside of the mountain peak was the same as the outside of the mountain peak. All kinds of lightning struck Xiao Hua from different void flashes, as if the mountain peak was void. The lightning flickered, lingering around Xiao Hua's entire body. Xiao Hua closed his eyes tightly, and the lightning on his body either merged into his body or merged into the mountain peak again. The earth crystal Yao milk spiritual energy in Xiao Hua's body also slowly flowed within the lightning. It was refined by Xiao Hua's celestial body bestowment technique. On one hand, it was refined into his body, and on the other hand, it was sent into his meridians. Looking at Xiao Hua's meridians again, there was also lightning striking. The spiritual energy in his meridians was the same as in his body, and it was drawn out like a gurgling stream. The hidden danger of Xiao Hua's cultivation was actually slowly dissolving in this unimaginable way. Although Xiao Hua didn't deliberately use his mental cultivation method, his cultivation was still slowly improving. 10 days later, Xiao Hua waited for the pain to disappear and split his primordial spirit again. This time, his primordial spirit merged into his body. He focused on practicing the celestial body bestowment technique. This was also Xiao Hua's attempt. In his mind, the celestial body bestowment technique was different from the earth attribute mental cultivation method. He couldn't multitask, and since he had to practice the celestial body bestowment technique and mental cultivation method, he might as well try to merge his primordial spirit with his body. Who would have thought that it would happen so quickly? This was truly beyond his expectations. Even Xiao Hua himself suspected that his physical body was alive, just like his meridians. Another 10 days passed, and Xiao Hua split his primordial spirit again. This time, the split primordial spirit fused into his bones. The bone tempering technique of the Sunset Island was different from the Big Dipper magical fist technique. It was a type of mental cultivation method that was similar to striking. Now that the lightning had fallen, it was the best time to practice the bone tempering technique. Xiaohua didn't want to miss such a good opportunity. Another 10 days passed, and Xiaohua split his primordial spirit again. This time, Xiaohua wanted to merge his primordial spirit with the phoenix dharma body. However, when he thought about how the phoenix dharma body already had several types of soul essences, Xiaohua admitted that his primordial spirit was inferior to the phoenix dharma body. Thus, after a brief thought, he sent his primordial spirit into the Buddha Sarira. Another 10 days passed and Xiaohua split his Yuan divinity again. This time, the Yuan divinity was fused into Xiaohua's dimension, the heavenly Tao starry sky. The heavenly Tao starry sky was originally formless, but Xiaohua already had a trace of his primordial spirit follow the fire origin into the space and merge with the starry sky. This trace of primordial spirit also entered the starry sky extremely smoothly. Another 10 days passed, and Xiaohua split his primordial spirit again. This time, the split primordial spirit fused into the hand of karma. This hand of karma was truly vast. Xiaohua didn't expect to be able to control the entire hand of karma, but if he could have a trace of his primordial spirit in the hand of karma, he should have sufficient time to comprehend karma, right? Another 10 days passed, and Xiaohua split his primordial spirit again. This time, the split primordial spirit didn't merge into any place, but stayed alone in the space. Xiaohua waited for this primordial spirit to awaken and strengthen. Then he would comprehend many of his jade slips. Finally, another 10 days passed, and Xiaohua thought for a long time. He felt that apart from the 8 sword pellets, there was nothing else he needed to comprehend with his primordial spirit. Just as he was about to merge his primordial spirit with the unrepaired sword pellets, Xiaohua's heart stirred, and he thought of his own space. This space was behind his head, but it wasn't under his control. If he could have a primordial spirit as the master, wouldn't he be able to do whatever he wanted? However, when he truly tried to control it, he ran into trouble. This trace of primordial spirit couldn't merge into the space, and was left alone outside like the primordial spirit he used to comprehend the jade slips. Helpless, Xiaohua thought of the mysterious place where the soul strands had penetrated. Thus, he sent his primordial spirit into the dark clouds along with the soul strands. He used this primordial spirit to comprehend the green seal text and soul cultivation methods. The 8 sword pellets had yet to be completely repaired, and Xiaohua's primordial spirit couldn't merge with them. Moreover, at this time, Xiaohua faintly felt that splitting his primordial spirit had a great use. Splitting a trace of his primordial spirit and putting it into the sword pellets was like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. Now, Xiaohua had split his primordial spirit into 8 different strands to comprehend 8 different cultivation methods. Each strand had its own responsibility, and each strand did their best. After doing all this, Xiaohua let out a long sigh of relief. Although he had a splitting headache, it was really uncomfortable. Anyone who split their primordial spirit 8 times in a row would feel uncomfortable. However, Xiaohua was even more delighted in his heart. He had grasped too many cultivation methods. Just relying on one primordial spirit to cultivate, it was already not bad to be able to cultivate one cultivation method to the extreme, not to mention these 7 or 8 cultivation methods. Even if it was a Confucian cultivator, soul cultivator, or Buddhist cultivator, these 3 cultivation methods that were on par with the Tao sect, it was impossible to successfully cultivate them, let alone something as unpredictable as the heavenly Tao and the hand of karma. Perhaps when these primordial spirits awaken, I will have some accomplishments. Xiaohua immediately closed his eyes. First, before the primordial spirits awakened, he activated the immortal body bestowment technique, relying on the lightning strike to refine the spiritual energy in his body. In his heart, he secretly planned for the future. Just as Xiaohua thought, 100 days later, these primordial spirits gradually awakened. Xiaohua didn't feel any special discomfort. It was only at the beginning that he felt like he was waking up from a dream, and it was a very strange feeling. As the primordial spirits began to operate their cultivation methods, different feelings and understandings were transmitted to the main primordial spirit, and through the main primordial spirit, it was shared with the other primordial spirits. Xiao Hua slowly adapted to this strange cultivation method. More than a year later, whether it was in his meridians or in his body, half of the earth attribute's spiritual energy had been refined, and the remaining sediment was even more difficult to refine. While Xiao Hua was refining his spiritual energy, he was doing other things. The first thing Xiao Hua did was to take out the 50% of the male lightning beast's inner core that he had obtained from Helpless and Cui Hongshan from the space. The lightning beast's inner core flashed and immediately attracted countless lightning strikes, all of which struck the inner core. Xiao Hua formed several seals and condensed the male lightning beast's inner core above his head. Then, he also took out the remaining 80% of the female lightning beast's inner core. After forming seals, he took out 60% of it and put the remaining 20% back into the space. Similar to the male lightning beast's inner core, countless lightning strikes struck out at the same time. Moreover, between the male and female cores, there was actually purple lightning that connected them together. Seeing this situation, Xiao Hua was even more certain that his guess when he saw Shue's foundation building on the heavenly sea should be correct. Then, Xiao Hua took out 9 drops of the male and female lightning beast's blood and condensed them on the surface of the 2 inner cores. When the blood went deep into the inner cores, Xiao Hua formed seals one after another. It was exactly the same as refining the thunder pill. Finally, Xiao Hua pointed his finger, go. The 2 inner cores spun and entangled together, and like melting liquid, they were poured into the phoenix celestial body by Xiao Hua. Kachacha, the phoenix celestial body, flashed with lightning, and lightning also appeared between its wings and claws. Great! Xiao Hua was overjoyed. He used the phoenix celestial body as the cauldron, and the male and female lightning beast's inner cores as the core liquid to refine the thunder pill. It was precisely embedding the 2 inner cores into the phoenix celestial body to form the inner core of the celestial body, which was similar to the innate inner core of the lightning beast. Then, when Shue was building her foundation, the innate seals of the lightning beast's hands appeared in Xiao Hua's mind. His hands also slowly waved. Not only were more than a dozen lightning bolts controlled by Xiao Hua, but lightning bolts that were several times more powerful than the thunder palm were also suddenly born in his palm. Not only that, at the same time that the 2 inner cores in the phoenix celestial body were rotating, in the depths of the myriad thunder valley, a purple light spot that was both big and small, which was invisible to the naked eye, divine sense, and even Buddhist sense, was attracted by the yin and yang lightning bolts. It slowly flew out from the depths of the valley and rushed towards Xiao Hua. Its appearance was actually similar to the earliest fire origin. Xiao Hua used nearly 10 days to properly embed the inner cores of the phoenix celestial body. He saw the thin and long lightning bolt strike the phoenix celestial body, and threads of light entered the body, seeping into the yin and yang inner cores, increasing the number of inner cores. Moreover, in a short period of time, strands of Hotian impurities turned into green smoke and flew out from the inner cores. Xiao Hua was overjoyed in his heart, knowing that he had found the correct method to embed the lightning beast's inner cores. This was what Xiao Hua saw. What Xiao Hua didn't see, or perhaps what Xiao Hua didn't expect, was that in Xiao Hua's lower dantian, on both sides of the extremely small virtual spot, 2 more virtual spots flashing with lightning bolts appeared. However, they were even smaller and even more inaudible. After arranging the lightning beast's inner cores, Xiao Hua once again took out the Great Wisdom Sword. In his mind, he carefully recalled the demon realm's blood fusion technique. He opened his mouth, and a mouthful of blood essence touched the Great Wisdom Sword. Immediately after, Xiao Hua's hands waved again. However, this time, Xiao Hua didn't make any strange hand seals. Instead, he used the hand seals that controlled the lightning bolts just now. Under Xiao Hua's control, numerous lightning bolts fell down, striking the Great Wisdom Sword. The lightning bolts were very uniform and also contained an indescribable rhythm. If one were to listen to it, it would actually sound like a sonorous and powerful rhythm. Even if one were to look at it with their eyes, it would be a magnificent scene of splashes of splendor. This lightning strike technique was precisely the demon realm's blood fusion technique. However, Xiaohua had changed the demon realm's demon weapon to lightning. Following Xiaohua's blood fusion technique, the blood essence gradually plated a layer of faint golden light film on the surface of the Great Wisdom Sword. Next, Xiaohua took out that strange object again, and similarly spat out a mouthful of blood essence. Just like the Great Wisdom Sword, the lightning bolts struck it, and not long after, another layer of golden light film plated on the fist-sized object. -8. Chapter 2195. Combine, Xiaohua shouted. That thing collided with the Great Wisdom Sword. Xiaohua didn't hesitate and struck out with a different lightning strike rhythm, hitting exactly where the two came into contact. After an unknown amount of time, that thing turned into a ball of membrane, wrapping around the Great Wisdom Sword. At this time, Xiaohua was a little hesitant. He took out a few pieces of the silver-plated sword, looked at them, and threw them into the space. He took out the two demonic hammers, shook his hands, and like before, used the blood fusion technique to stick the two demonic hammers together with the Great Wisdom Sword. In the end, Xiaohua's hands swung once again, forming different hand seals. The rhythm of the entire lightning strike changed again, completely enveloping the Great Wisdom Heavy Sword, the Devil Hammer, and that inexplicable thing. Xiaohua's blood essence had already completely transformed into a golden substance, gradually seeping into the three things, and the three things immediately fused together. Looking at the golden substance that was continuously rolling around in the lightning above his head, Xiaohua smiled and secretly said, "In any case, this young master has finally found the method to refine the Great Wisdom Sword. Even if I can only fuse these things together now, this is still a big improvement. The lightning strike method should be outside of the 5 elements. This young master is really smart. The blood fusion technique doesn't touch the 5 elements at all. It's just that I don't know when this blood fusion technique will succeed, so I'll just let them roll around here." After another month, Xiaohua saw that the Great Wisdom Sword still couldn't completely fuse, so he ignored it and took out the few pieces of silver-plated sword. Looking at the few pieces of demonic tools, Xiaohua's heart was filled with emotion. Really, since Xiaohua first stepped into the cultivation world, entered Jinghua City, was forced to buy the demonic spear tip from Shi Wuming at Mingcue Mountain, and finally got the last piece of the demonic spear shaft from Kuaqiao, this silver-plated sword was finally gathered. This was almost the entire process of Xiaohua's cultivation. However, Xiaohua was very gratified. A demonic tool that could make the heavenly demon sect's sect master remember was definitely not an ordinary item. Xiaohua only sighed with emotion for a moment, then spat out a few more mouthfuls of blood essence. Just like the Great Wisdom Sword, the silver-plated sword was fused together. Naturally, Qiu Yinlu couldn't completely fuse with the Great Wisdom Sword. Xiaohua only needed to connect the broken parts, which should be easy. However, when Xiaohua's blood was fusing, he actually discovered that there was an extremely strong repulsive force within the Dragon Silver Guilt, which wanted to expel his blood essence from the Dragon Silver Guilt. Xiaohua was unable to infuse his blood essence into the demonic artifact, so he could only use his blood essence to connect the fused segments together. Thus, the seemingly complete ancient Dragon Silver Guilt was absorbed into his space. After all, Xiaohua didn't have the complete refining method of the Devil Realm, not to mention how to repair the ancient Dragon Silver plating. Another half a year passed, and more than 70% of the accumulated spiritual energy in Xiaohua's meridians and body had been refined. Xiaohua's cultivation level rose again, and he finally entered the late stage of foundation establishment. Another portion of new meridians had been opened. Xiaohua's divine sense, Buddhist consciousness, and even space expanded once more. Just as Xiaohua was advancing, Helpless happened to be on guard duty in the Myriad Thunder Valley. Helpless sat inside the Myriad Thunder Valley's restriction, inside an immortal's cave protected by layers of restriction spells. Seeing lightning suddenly flickering on the mountain peak in the distance, countless spiritual energy of heaven and earth flocking in, he couldn't help but be shocked. He hurriedly threw out a misty green copper mirror in his hand and spat a mouthful of true essence into it. Thus, he could see all the movements on the mountain peak. Strange, the lightning on Jile Peak is 20% more than before, but the spiritual energy of heaven and earth has increased by 40%. Could there be some unforeseen event? Helpless slightly frowned. However, he was very clear in his heart that although his magic artifact could observe the entire myriad Thunder Valley, most of its range was the entire abyss and restriction spells, as well as the surface of Gile Peak. If it went any deeper, there would be lightning interference, and it would be impossible to detect. Just like his divine sense, although much stronger than ordinary cultivators, he still couldn't rashly detect Gile Peak. Should I report this to the shocking Thunder Palace? Helpless was somewhat hesitant, but he was clear in his heart that the current myriad Thunder Valley was no longer as useful as before. This little change might not be able to attract the attention of the masters of the shocking Thunder Palace. Forget it. It's I's duty anyway. How can I not report it? After making the decision, Helpless put away the copper mirror, came out of the cave, opened the restriction spell, and flew towards his own immortal's cave. Oh, shwe shwe. Helpless flew past Xiao Hua's immortal's cave. As usual, he took a look. Xiao Hua's immortal's cave was still sealed, and there were no abnormalities. Unlike before, today there was a pretty female cultivator standing quietly in front of the sealed immortal's cave. Shwe Shwe naturally saw Helpless and immediately saluted respectfully. Greetings, Martial Uncle Helpless. Oh, get up. Helpless smiled and helped Shwe Shwe up. He looked her up and down and nodded. As expected of the lightning beast's bloodline, it's extraordinary. You just stepped into the Foundation establishment realm, and after a few days of closed-door cultivation, your cultivation has advanced so much. No disciple of my myriad Thunder Valley can compare to you. Alas, if that little bastard Xiao Hua could be as well-behaved as you, he could be as good as you are. This old man's heart will be at ease. I don't know which part of that little bastard you've taken a fancy to. Shwe Shwe's face was slightly red, and she said with a smile, Martial Uncle Helpless, you know that not only is Xiao Hua's cultivation. Forget it, let's not talk about cultivation. Xiao Hua's heart is kind, and his actions are straightforward and upright. Even if he's a low-level cultivator, he's still the target of my admiration. Besides, I seem to know more about Xiao Hua than Martial Uncle. I feel that Xiao Hua is the one I've entrusted my life to. Even if I die for him, even if my body is torn to pieces, I'm still willing. You silly child, what are you talking about? Helpless shook his head and said, This old man feels strange because I don't understand Xiao Hua. His foundation is lacking, and his aptitude can't be considered particularly good. Normally, he should wholeheartedly focus on cultivation, and perhaps have some achievements. However, he has too many distractions, and he seems to have dabbled in too many things. Even if he's finally reached the Foundation establishment realm, in this old man's eyes, it's difficult for him to achieve great success. If you have the chance in the future, you have to persuade him. Cultivation is really too important for cultivators. A trace of understanding flashed across Shwe Shwe's face, and then she became somewhat resolute. She nodded and said, This junior understands. If there's a chance, I'll definitely explain it to him. However, this junior also wants to find a time to explain it to Martial Uncle in detail. Perhaps Martial Uncle can change your view of Xiao Hua. Oh, what's so special about Xiao Hua? Why don't you tell this old man now? Helpless was somewhat curious. However, Shwe Shwe shook her head slightly and said, Okay, Martial Uncle knows that some things can't be said, but the time isn't right. When the time is, this junior will naturally say it. At that time, Martial Uncle Helpless will also have some choices. Ha ha ha. Helpless laughed loudly. This old man knows. My 10,000 Thunder Valley's second disciple, Cui Hongshan, is about to hold the dual cultivation ceremony with Dui Qiming of Converging Thunder Palace. When the two of them are done, it'll naturally be your and Xiao Hua's turn. At that time, this old man really wants to hear what kind of strange story you have with Xiao Hua. If you like this work, you're welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for it. -8. Chapter 2196. Shwe Shwe's face froze for a moment before her face flushed red. She said shyly, Martial Uncle is right. Junior. Ha ha ha. He helplessly smiled again. With a wave of his sleeve, His figure flew up, and he said, "This old man won't talk to you anymore, so as to avoid making you feel embarrassed. When Xiao Hua comes out of seclusion, this old man will have his master's wife go find Martial Uncle Sun. Goodbye, Martial Uncle Helplessness." Shue Shue bowed her head, but there were tears in her eyes and her face was pale. Unfortunately, Helplessness felt joy in his heart. How could he see it? When Helplessness walked far away, Shue Shue's gaze was filled with longing, unwilling to leave immediately. She lingered in front of the cave for a long time before leaving a message talisman and flying back to Xuanlei Palace. Xiaohua naturally didn't know that Shue Shue came out of seclusion to find him. He also didn't know that the phenomenon of him entering Foundation establishment late stage attracted Helplessness's attention. He was still leisurely looking at the great wisdom sword being tempered by lightning. From time to time, he would use spells to control the lightning to change its rhythm. By now, Xiao Hua had already opened up new meridians, and the natural energies inside his body and meridians were still being slowly refined by the two strands of nascent divinities. Therefore, Xiao Hua began to refine the black spots inside his meridians again, pushing his cultivation base and stabilizing his cultivation base. Xiao Hua would never take out Daoist Jing Si's one Qi divine furnace from the space if he didn't have any assurance. Xiao Hua had even calculated that when the wisp of primordial spirit had free time, he would refine this magic weapon in the space and take it for himself. At this time, he took out his three-legged vermilion bird phoenix rune furnace and ignited it with the Samadhi true fire. He threw the youth-retaining grass and other spiritual herbs into the furnace and began to refine the youth-retaining pill according to the recipe that Qian Diheng had given him. The streaks of lightning struck the furnace and added some magical effects to the youth-retaining pill. The face-preserving pill was just a normal pill. However, the face-preserving grass was rare. Otherwise, Gantian Mountain wouldn't have casually given the pill recipe to Qian Diheng. To Xiao Hua, who had refined the Ling Lei Dan before, this kind of Dan was as easy as lifting a finger. He had earned so many spirit stones just by cultivating leisurely. Unknowingly, more than half a year had passed. Xiao Hua had already been in seclusion for nearly 3 years. Just as Wu Xian expected, after he sent out the message talisman, he made a special trip to the deacon of 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 the 10,000 Thunder Valley and Jilei Peak, who still didn't take the matter of the Jilei Peak seriously. Soon after, Xiao Hua's meridians returned to normal, and the sudden appearance of the lightning and heaven-earth spiritual qi also disappeared. Helplessly, he could only put this matter aside. He was still on duty at 10,000 Thunder Valley, and Xiangyang and Cui Hongshan were also patrolling the outskirts of 10,000 Thunder Valley. On this day, Helpless was cultivating with his eyes closed. He released his divine sense slightly and used the lightning within the 10,000 Thunder Valley to refine it. This was a secret technique he had discovered by chance when he was on duty at 10,000 Thunder Valley. Although it wasn't a complete secret technique, the pure torture and refinement allowed his divine sense to be stronger than other cultivators of the same level. Suddenly, he felt that there was some movement in the restriction outside the 10,000 Thunder Valley. He withdrew his divine sense and took out the copper mirror. When he saw that there was an early gold core stage cultivator outside the restriction looking at him coldly, he immediately put away the copper mirror and opened the formation. He respectfully greeted him with a smile. "Junior has no choice. Greetings, Martial Uncle Zhen, Shichao Zhen." Zhen Shichao raised his hand in greeting, but his eyes were looking behind Helpless. He asked, "Half a year ago, you reported to Thunder Palace twice, saying that there was something wrong with Jilei Mountain?" "Yes." Helpless nodded his head in reply, but then he hesitated and said, "However, that abnormality only lasted for a dozen days, and then it gradually calmed down. Now, it has been a few months, and it hasn't appeared." "And can you leave an image?" Zhen Shichao seemed to have expected Helpless' answer, and his tone was still indifferent. "Martial Uncle Zhen, Jilei Mountain, can never leave an image." Helpless reminded him, "This is the rule of Thunder Palace." "Humph, when was that rule?" Zhen Shichao sneered. "The current Jilei Mountain is no longer as important as before." Then he flicked his sleeves and said, "Since you don't have an image, and there is no abnormality now, How would this old man know where this abnormality came from? Yes. Helpless had no way to refute, and could only lower his head and agree. Forget it. Zhen Shichao sighed. Since you coaxed me here, I have to take a look. Saying this, Zhan Shichao flew into the myriad Thunder Valley, and with a clap of his hand, a lightning protection ring flew into the air, surrounding him, and then flew towards Jile Mountain. Along the way, countless lightning bolts struck Zhan Shichao's body, but they were all absorbed by the brilliance emitted by the lightning protection ring. Not a single lightning bolt struck Zhan Shichao, and when they were within 10 feet of Jile Peak, the lightning protection ring had turned purplish-red, and Zhan Shichao's body began to glow. It was obvious that the lightning protection ring could no longer absorb all the lightning bolts. Zhen Shichao didn't dare to get any closer, and with a clap of his hand, he took out a square bronze mirror about 3 feet long and 2 feet wide. He spat a mouthful of true yuan on it, and the surface of the mirror emitted a blue brilliance. When Zhan Shichao formed a seal with his hand, a wave of ripples appeared, and various lightning bolts flashed in Jile Mountain. Poor Xiaohua was now proudly cultivating with a smile on his face. How would he know that someone was exploring Jile Mountain? Why is the lightning so strange here? Zhan Shichao carefully observed until he saw the lightning bolts of the Great Wisdom Sword. At this time, the Great Wisdom Sword and the Devil Hammer had merged together, forming the shape of a long rod. The Devil Hammer had already turned into a shell that covered the outside of the Prajna Heavy Sword. However, because it was only blood fusion, the Devil Hammer had yet to truly fuse with the Prajna Heavy Sword. As such, the shape of the Prajna Heavy Sword did not change much. Of course, because it was a rod, the lightning bolts around it were also in the shape of a rod, which made Zhen Shichao realize something was wrong. Then, Zhen Shichao pointed at the magic treasure again. A wave of spiritual power came from the magic treasure and shrouded Jile Peak. The scene of Jile Peak flashed in the mirror bit by bit. Oh, there's someone. The fluctuation of magic power woke Xiaohua up. Xiaohua's Buddhist sense swept out and immediately perceived the fluctuation of spiritual power from the magic weapon. He didn't dare to be negligent and immediately put away the Great Wisdom Sword into the space along with the Pill Furnace and Dharmakaya. He didn't dare to hesitate and urged his magic power to escape towards the bottom of Jile Peak. At this time, Xiaohua's spiritual power doubled again, and he went even deeper. When the place where the Great Wisdom Sword was appeared, it was normal, and there was not the slightest abnormality. Strange. When Zhen Shichao withdrew the spiritual power and looked again, the rod-shaped lightning bolts had disappeared again. Maybe it's the lightning's abnormality? Zhen Shichao looked around, and he had already come to a conclusion. He continued to look down. However, the use of his lightning avoidance ring was limited. After looking for half an hour, there was still a lot of time before Xiaohua went down. Zhen Shichao felt that he could not hold on any longer, so he put away the magic weapon, turned and flew to Wu Xian, who was waiting respectfully in the cave, and said faintly, I have already looked. There is nothing unusual in Jile Mountain. Thank you for your trouble, Martial Uncle Zhen. Wu Xian cupped his hands and smiled apologetically. Disciple's report gave Martial Uncle Zhen a false alarm. No matter. Zhen Shichao waved his hand and said, It's your duty. You can't be blamed. Moreover, the myriad Thunder Valley has been peaceful for so long. It's normal for there to be some abnormalities. Then, Zhen Shichao took a storage bag from his waist and handed it to Wu Xian, saying, This is the spirit stones and elixirs rewarded by the myriad Thunder Valley this year. Consider it as compensation for the hard work of the myriad Thunder Valley disciples. Wu Xian was stunned and hurriedly said, Martial Uncle Zhen, there is indeed something unusual about Jile Mountain. Disciple is not trying to be sensational. This old man didn't say anything about you? Zhen Shichao was even more certain. He threw the storage bag to Wu Xian and smiled. The disciples of the myriad Thunder Valley have indeed worked hard. You have also worked hard. The thunder and lightning of Jile Mountain is really powerful. Even this old man can't go near it. It has indeed been hard for you to keep watch here. This reward from the palace is only right. Yes. Wu Xian's mouth was filled with bitterness. He took the storage bag and smiled apologetically. Thank you. Martial Uncle Zhen. And Zhen Shichao came out of the cave and walked out of the array. He instructed, "The myriad Thunder Valley is a very important place for my thunderous palace. This old man remembers that there is a special rule in my thunderous palace. If anything happens to the myriad Thunder Valley, the patrolling disciples will be crippled of their cultivation and expelled from the sect. In the worst case, they will be killed on the spot. Wu Xian, the burden on your shoulders is very heavy. You must take good care of this place and don't let anything happen to it. Otherwise, you and I won't be able to answer to the Thunderous Palace and the sect master." "Yes, this disciple understands." Wu Xian replied respectfully and accompanied Zhan Shichao to the outskirts of the myriad Thunder Valley. However, he didn't really care about it. He didn't know when this sect rule came into effect. Now that he had sent out 2 transmission amulets and specially went to the Thunderous Palace to invite Zhan Shichao over, he was still being treated as if he was trying to take credit. Zhan Shichao's words were just a fake reprimand. Ever since you started guarding the myriad Thunder Valley, this old man has come here many times." Zhen Shichao encouraged Wu Xian again. "Now that your cultivation has reached the peak of the late stage of foundation establishment, if you have any opportunities, quickly condense your core. Also let your disciples come and keep watch. I heard that Xiangyang is already in the middle stage of foundation establishment. It should be time for him to enter the myriad Thunder Valley. Your other 2 disciples seem to be pretty good too. Let them come in and take a look. Nurture them as soon as possible." "Yes, this disciple understands." Wu Xian smiled helplessly and didn't know how to explain. He then said, "This disciple has 3 disciples. The one with the lowest cultivation, Xiaohua, has only been in foundation establishment for a few years and is far from being able to guard Jilei Peak. However, the second disciple, Cui Hongshan, has steadily improved his cultivation. After this year's dual cultivation ceremony, this junior will take a look and focus on nurturing him. After 10 years, he will be able to guard Jilei Peak." "Hee, dual cultivation?" Zhan Shichao laughed. "Which female disciple of the myriad Thunder Valley has a marriage alliance with?" "Yes, Martial Uncle knows. It's Deity Qiming from the Thunderous Palace." "Oh, I seem to have some impression of her." Zhen Shichao nodded and then said, "Plans can't be compared to changes. I'm afraid your perfect plan will fail." -8. Chapter 2197. What do you mean?" Helpless was shocked and hurriedly asked, "Martial Uncle Zhen, please teach me." "It's nothing." Zhen Shichao flicked his sleeves and didn't stop moving. He smiled and said, "There are some secrets that you don't need to know. This old man is just casually saying, when the time comes, you will naturally know." Xiaohua moved to the bottom and waited for the magic power on the mirror to gradually disappear. Only then did he slowly move to the top of Jilei Peak. What he didn't know was that when he entered the depths of Jilei Peak, the extremely bright purple light was already less than 100 miles away from him. However, that light was very mysterious and its fluctuations were also obscure. It was difficult to attract Xiaohua's attention. Xiaohua flew back to his original location and quietly released his Buddhist sense. When he saw that Helpless had sent Zhan Shichao out without closing the restriction on the array, he couldn't help but be overjoyed. He thought to himself, "Since I've already attracted Master's attention, I'm afraid I can't stay here any longer. The stagnant spirit energy in my meridians and body has already been eliminated. The inner core of the Phoenix Dharma body will never be refined. It's better to come back later when I have time, or even when I'm on duty. Now that the array is open, I don't need Little Silver to make a hole anymore. It's better to get out as soon as possible." Xiaohua thought and hurriedly flew out of Jilei Peak. He unfolded his Phoenix Dharma body and blocked many lightning bolts while he calmly flew out of the restriction. However, as soon as Xiaohua came out of the restriction and released his Buddhist sense, he saw Helpless flying back. Xiaohua had an idea. He didn't use any invisibility talisman and turned around to fly back to the restriction. Xiaohua. Helpless naturally saw Xiaohua's back and asked curiously, "You came out of seclusion?" "Oh, Master. Why aren't you in the array?" Xiaohua heard Helpless call and pretended to be astonished. He turned around. In. Master went out for a while. I have something to do. Helpless glared at Xiao Hua. When did you come out of seclusion? Why didn't you stay in seclusion for a few more days? Looking at you, you didn't make any progress. What did you comprehend? Did you come out of seclusion without fully comprehending it? Master knows. Xiao Hua immediately smiled apologetically. Disciple just came out of seclusion. I missed Master, so I came to the inner valley. Humph, don't try to be glib. Helpless, Xiao Hua didn't answer. Knowing that Xiao Hua hadn't made any progress, he didn't dare to say more. Instead, he scolded, if you could use your glib tongue on cultivation, I'm afraid you wouldn't be any worse than your senior brother Cui. When Xiao Hua heard the helpless mention of Cui Hongshan, he was a little unhappy in his heart, but he didn't dare to show it on his face. That's good too. Your second senior martial brother is going to have a dual cultivation ceremony with Dui Qiming of the Converging Thunder Palace in a month's time. It's good that you've come out of seclusion. Although your cultivation isn't high enough, you can still do some chores for my myriad Thunder Valley. Don't waste any more time here. Hurry back. Helplessly hesitating, he seemed to recall Zhen Shichao's ambiguous words. Without waiting for Xiao Hua to speak, he continued to give orders. Yes, this disciple understands. Xiao Hua bowed in salute, then turned around and flew out of the valley in a grandiose manner. Sigh, when will you make this old man worry? Helplessly looking at Xiao Hua's figure that could be considered fast flying, he shook his head and said, your cultivation hasn't made any progress, but your lightning evasion technique has improved. This guy only wants to escape? Xiao Hua didn't know what Helplessly was thinking. As soon as he broke away from Helplessly's gaze, he immediately used the bright thunder evasion to rush back to his cave. This young master's bright thunder evasion. When Xiao Hua used the bright thunder evasion, there was a faint sound of wind and thunder. Moreover, when magic power was sent out from his meridians, there was also some lightning. Xiao Hua actually felt that his bright thunder evasion was about to advance again. Why is this? Xiao Hua's eyes turned rapidly, but he couldn't figure out the reason. After all, he had done too many things on Jile Peak. Who knew which aspect had promoted the progress of the bright thunder evasion? However, since his lightning evasion technique had entered the thunderclap realm from the thunderclap realm, he was also extremely happy. As long as he reached the thunderclap realm, even if he ran into an early nascent soul cultivator like Daoist Jingru, he would be able to calmly escape. Ha ha ha, Xiao Hua laughed heartily as he flew back to his cave. Outside the cave, there were several summoning talismans. Xiao Hua crushed the summoning talismans. 3 of them were from Qin Diheng. This guy didn't have anything else to say, only asking when he could get the face-retaining pill for 3 years in a row. Another one was from Sun Shu, only asking if Xiao Hua had exited seclusion. The remaining one was from Xue Xue. Xue Xue's summoning talisman was even shorter. Husband, I haven't completely exited seclusion. Today, Master had an urgent matter and called me out, so I came over to take a look. I didn't expect that husband was actually in seclusion. I'm very relieved. I hope that after husband exits seclusion, you'll have another level of cultivation. If you run into that old ghost Jingru again, you'll be able to kill him with one sword strike. Not only did the summoning talisman not mention anything else, there was also no worry in her tone. It seemed that Xue Xue was at ease with everything about Xiao Hua. So much so that Xue Xue believed that as long as Xiao Hua exited seclusion, he would definitely have the cultivation to kill Daoist Jingru. Good, my wife's tone isn't small. The pressure on husband's shoulders is very heavy. Xiao Hua snickered in his heart. Right now, his cultivation was only at the late stage of foundation establishment, and his realm had just stabilized. In terms of strength, he wasn't inferior to those in the middle or late stage of Jindan. However, if he was truly compared to an early-stage nascent soul cultivator, there was still a big difference. Xiao Hua was already unable to close his mouth from being able to easily escape from Daoist Jingru's hands. How could he dare to say that he could kill a nascent soul cultivator with a raise of his hand? Perhaps he would have to enter seclusion for 100 years to accomplish that. That's right. Why can't this young master enter seclusion for 100 years? Suddenly, Xiao Hua himself was also stunned. He was free and unfettered on Gile Peak. After being struck by 10,000 lightning bolts, not only did his Buddha Saraira make substantial progress, it was nearly 2.5 feet tall. Even the golden liquid inside it was filled with a lot. Moreover, his bone-tempering technique was also slowly making progress. Although Xiaohua himself couldn't see, the orange color in his bones was already more than 10%. Besides, his Phoenix Dharma body and Celestial body bestowment technique had also made progress. Moreover, his several primordial spirits each had their own responsibilities and were all comprehending. He only needed to enter seclusion for 100 years, and perhaps he could really break through to Jindan. If he entered seclusion for 1,000 years, could he also look forward to nascent soul and spirit severing stage? Should this young master go and inquire about the situation and sneak in again? Xiaohua stroked his chin and thought to himself, however, before entering seclusion, I still need to look for some medicinal pills. The earth crystal Yao milk is already not enough. It shouldn't be enough to support me until the core formation stage. Finished thinking, Xiaohua sent a summoning talisman to Qian Dihong and opened the restriction of his immortal's cave. He didn't go inside and directly flew towards the immortal's cave that faced the sun. -8. Chapter 2198. Sure enough, Xiangyang and Yin Qinglian were both in the abode. Even the annoying Cui Hongshan was there. However, when he saw Xiaohua, Cui Hongshan only asked, "You're out." He didn't say anything more. After informing Xiangyang, he left without saying a word. Tisk, Xiaohua curled his lips and said unhappily, "Why is this guy everywhere? Little brother just came out and was in a good mood. Then I met this guy and ruined my good mood for no reason." Xiangyang didn't seem to hear him. He looked Xiaohua up and down and shook his head. "Little junior brother, why didn't you make any progress in your cultivation?" "What progress?" Yin Qinglian glared at Xiangyang and said quickly, "As long as junior brother Xiao stabilizes his realm, isn't having no hidden dangers better than anything else?" Thank you for your concern." Xiaohua cupped his hands and said, "Little brother indeed didn't pay too much attention to cultivation. Little brother's realm has already stabilized, and the hidden dangers in my body have all been removed." "Great," Xiangyang said with a smile. "As long as your realm is stabilized, your cultivation can slowly improve. This is better than anything else." "Oh right. Eldest senior brother, little brother just met master. He said Cui Hongshan and Dui Qiming are going to dual cultivate? Is there anything little brother can help with?" Xiaohua hurriedly changed the topic. Seeing Xiaohua calling out Cui Hongshan and Dui Qiming like 3 years ago, Yin Qinglian could only smile bitterly. She looked at Xiangyang and said, "Actually, it's nothing much. Our Imperial Thunder Sect's dual cultivation ceremony has a fixed ceremony. When the time comes, we just need to follow Thunderclap Palace's rules and do it step by step. The most important thing now is to send the betrothal gift to Dui Qiming and get junior sister Dui's approval. As long as she receives the betrothal gift, this matter will be considered half done. However, according to junior brother Cui, junior sister Dui is fine, but her master doesn't think highly of our myriad Thunder Valley. Back then, junior brother Cui wanted to use that item as a betrothal gift to shut her master's mouth." Xiangyang smiled again and said, "Of course, the item that junior brother Xiao took out after that was suitable for female cultivators. In my opinion, not to mention junior sister Dui's master, even martial aunt Dui Jie's mouth would not be a problem." "In other words, there's nothing little brother can do?" Xiaohua was quite happy in his heart, but his face was cold. It seemed that he was not happy to be able to help Cui Hongshan. But how could Xiangyang and Yin Qinglian miss such a good opportunity to repair the relationship between Xiaohua and Cui Hongshan? They said in unison, "How could that be? There are still many things that we need junior brother Zhao's help with. Don't worry." Just as they were talking, a transmission talisman flew over. It really was Xiaohua. Xiaohua received it and gave it a look, saying with a smile, "All right, eldest apprentice brother. Qian Diheng, that scoundrel, knows that this little brother has come out of seclusion and has brought a bunch of disciples of the heavenly Thunder Hall over. Little brother is going to welcome them. Will eldest senior brother and senior sister-in-law be coming as well?" Let your eldest senior brother go over. Yin Qinglian pretended to be in a hurry. When you're done over there, hurry over and help. Yes. Xiaohua smiled and followed Xiangyang back to the cave. After a long while, Qin Diheng came. Not only did he come alone, a group of disciples of the Heavenly Thunder Hall indeed followed behind him. However, these disciples were far from the few that Xiaohua had imagined, but rather more than 10. Senior brother Qian, this is... Seeing Qin Diheng come over with more than 10 aura refining disciples, Xiaohua was a bit stupefied. He blinked his eyes and asked in confusion, "Oh, it's nothing." Qin Diheng smiled slightly at Xiaohua, then turned his head and said to those disciples, "You all go and settle down. Just follow the arrangement of this Qin's cave, and put whatever you need to put wherever you need to be." "Yes, we'll follow Martial Uncle's instructions," those disciples answered, then bowed towards Xiaohua and Xiangyang again before entering Xiaohua's cave like a swarm of bees. Hee, junior brother Xiao. Senior brother is very kind, right? Qin Diheng said proudly, "I know that your cave is as poor as a church mouse, so I specially brought my disciples here today to help you tidy up your cave." Haha, it's true. Xiaohua saw the group of disciples fly into the immortal's cave in an orderly manner. They flew to different places and took out jade chairs, jade tables, decorations, and other things from their storage pouches to decorate the entire immortal's cave. In just a moment, the immortal's cave that was said to be desolate suddenly became lively and lively. "Many thanks, senior brother Qian," Xiaohua said with a smile. "What about that thing?" Qin Diheng looked at Xiaohua anxiously. "You've been in closed-door training for 3 years. I've been anxiously waiting for you." "Tch." Xiaohua waved his hand and took out a storage bag. He said with a smile, "Is there a need? It's as if you've never seen any spirit stones before." "Of course there's a need." Qin Diheng happily took it and rolled his eyes at Xiaohua. "Don't look at me as a disciple of the Heavenly Thunder Hall. The Heavenly Thunder Hall's disciples also don't have many surplus stones." At the end, Qin Diheng cried out in astonishment, his eyes full of joy. "Iske. You seem to have never seen the world." Xiaohua mocked. "Is there a need?" Yes, there really isn't a need." Qin Diheng hurriedly received the storage bag and said with an apologetic smile, "I've been thinking for a long time, but I've never thought that I would get so many at once. This thing, I still have to carefully plan how to earn even more spirit stones." "What other plans do you have?" Xiaohua asked curiously. "Speaking of this, junior brother Xiao doesn't understand." Qin Diheng said mysteriously, "One spirit stone is naturally precious, but if 100 suddenly appear, perhaps it's also precious. But what about 1,000? Wouldn't the amount of spirit stones be a lot less all of a sudden?" "Oh, this Xiao understands." Xiaohua was also a petty person, so how could he not understand what Qin Diheng said? Raising his thumb, he said, "Senior brother Qin is so awesome." "Of course." Qin Diheng smiled. "Don't you know what kind of person I am?" "What kind of person?" Xiaohua said with a beaming smile. "This little brother doesn't care who you are. You took something. Shouldn't you give me the spirit stones first?" "This..." Qin Diheng smiled bitterly and stretched out his hands, saying helplessly, "This brother thought that the gift I brought was enough, and you might not be able to open your mouth. But I didn't expect you to take out so much. This brother didn't prepare enough." "What gift?" Just these?" "These are all this young master's own spirit stones." Xiaohua stared blankly at first, then his heart ached and he hurriedly said, Stop. This young master's own spirit stones? Why are you still bowing? Just give me some random stones. In any case, this young master didn't make them himself." "Junior brother Xiao." Xiangyang frowned and scolded. "This is junior brother Qian's kind intentions, and these things are also worth a lot of spirit stones. Besides, taking 10,000 steps back, this immortal cave of yours will be decorated sooner or later, so spending some spirit stones is nothing." "But..." Xiaohua was anxious. "Senior brother, you don't know what this guy took from this little brother. So much." Cough, cough. "Junior brother Xiao, didn't you hear what senior brother said? Sooner or later, it's going to be decorated. So who doesn't benefit from you? Why not let this brother benefit? Besides, this brother also didn't say that I won't give you spirit stones. Just wait for a few days. Qiandiheng said in all seriousness and took a few steps closer to Xiangyang. Is there anyone as shameless as you? Xiaohua didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This young master has traveled to so many places in Xiaoyu continent, but there really isn't one that can compare to you. Reporting to Martial Uncle, everything has been arranged. Just as Xiaohua and Qiandiheng were talking, the disciples of Heavenly Thunder Palace had already arranged the entire immortal cave, and they all came out to report. In good. Qiandiheng nodded in satisfaction and said to Xiaohua, Junior brother Xiao, this brother still has some matters to attend to in the palace, so I won't stay here any longer. After saying that, Qiandiheng cupped his hands towards Xiangyang, turned around and was about to fly away. Damn it, you want to run away? Come back here. How could Xiaohua let him go? With a flick of his robe, Qiandiheng was immediately restrained by Qiandiheng's sleeve technique. Seeing that Qiandiheng was restrained by Xiaohua without any strength to fight back, Xiangyang and the people of Heavenly Thunder Palace were all smiles, thinking that Qiandiheng simply didn't have any strength to resist. But Qiandiheng himself was endlessly shocked. He was very clear in his heart that Xiaohua, who he hadn't seen for several years, was a lot more powerful than the last time he went out for experience with him. Hee, junior brother Xiao, what do you think? Qiandiheng didn't expose this matter and only said with a smile, today, this brother only took an empty storage pouch and didn't take any magic tools, magic treasures, and the like. There wasn't even a single spirit stone. If you like it, take this protective armor of this brother's. You. Xiaohua stretched out his hand, and sure enough, there wasn't even a single spirit stone in Qiandiheng's storage pouch. It was really empty. Really shameless, Xiaohua was really helpless and took that storage pouch, saying, I'll give you a storage pouch. This storage pouch is naturally left for me. Immediately after, Xiaohua flicked his sleeve again and withdrew the magic. After thinking for a moment, he transmitted a few words to Qiandiheng. When Qiandiheng heard this, a trace of divine light appeared in his eyes, and soon after, he shook his head with a bitter smile, and also transmitted a message, Junior brother Xiao, it's not that this brother doesn't want to help you. That face-retaining pill's pill formula is nothing but Reliance Lotus pill, Science Spirit pill, and other late-stage foundation establishment pills. Really, it's impossible for this brother to get the pill formula. Immediately after, Qiandiheng smiled apologetically again, saying, What? Junior brother Xiao, this Science Spirit pill. Are you going to take it yourself, or give it to your master? I heard that you were very unhappy in front of master. Why do you care so much? Xiaohua glared at him, saying, You can't even get the pill formula of Science Spirit pill, and you still call yourself a disciple of Heavenly Thunder Palace. Qiandiheng also didn't explain much and asked again, If you want, this brother can get you the Science Spirit pill, but you have to exchange it with your spirit stones. Thinking for a moment, Xiaohua shook his head, saying, Forget it. This younger brother just wants to flatter master. If you don't have it, then forget it. All right. Qiandiheng didn't seem to believe what Xiaohua said, and cupped his hands, saying, Junior brother Xiao, if there's nothing else, this brother will leave first. And, let's go. Let's go. This younger brother doesn't keep food here. Xiaohua unhappily waved his hand and said, Don't look at how calm Qiandiheng's face was, as if he was beaten by Xiaohua, but in his heart, he was mad with joy. The face-retaining pills that Xiaohua gave him in his storage pouch were really many, and it was really enough for him to be busy. Besides, Qiandiheng never felt that it was abnormal to be beaten by Xiaohua. Com to vote for recommendation, monthly votes. -8. Chapter 2199. Hee, let's go. Let me take a look at your cave. Xiangyang looked at Xiaohua's dejected expression and didn't ask what he said to Qiandiheng. He sent a message to Yin Qinglian and asked with a smile, Senior brother, please. Xiaohua looked at Xiangyang's rare expression of schadenfreude and said with a shrug, Oh my God. Although Xiangyang was already prepared, after walking in, he still almost stuck his tongue in his mouth. Although it was generally the decoration of an immortal's cave, the details and things inside were indeed completely different. Xiao Hua's immortal's cave was much more gorgeous than his own, and even his own immortal's cave. Looking at Xiao Hua again, his face was full of bitterness, as if he was about to cry. How many spirit stones is this? That goddamn Qian Diheng. This is robbery. Xiao Hua wanted to cry but had no tears. Oh, junior brother, this is really a big deal. Not long after, Yin Qinglian came over as well. She looked around happily and said, "Your cave abode is even more luxurious than your eldest senior brothers, junior brother Chui's, and even master's. Senior sister, these are all spirit stones." Xiao Hua finally found a soulmate. TSK, where did you get so many spirit stones? Yin Qinglian covered her mouth and asked with a smile. Xiao Hua waved his hand and said, "It's all from Qian Diheng." Sigh, forget it, let's not talk about it. Xiao Hua invited Xiang Yang and Yin Qinglian to take a seat. Seeing that the jade table next to the jade chair was already filled with spiritual tea and other things, Xiang Yang didn't stand on ceremony. He poured himself a cup, took a sip, and said with a smile, "This spiritual tea is not bad. Senior brother, you don't have to be polite. If you like it, just take it." Xiao Hua said with a smile, "Now this cave belongs to me. You don't have to be polite with me." Hee. Xiang Yang curled his lips and put the spirit tea on the jade table. He felt that if he took it, the stingy Xiao Hua would definitely be distressed. But he was still wrong. Xiao Hua could even take out the Thunder Beast's core. What was this spirit tea? The three chatted for a while. Yin Qinglian repeatedly pulled the topic to Cui Hongshan's dual cultivation, but Xiao Hua always avoided it and deliberately avoided it. Just as Yin Qinglian was thinking of a way, Xiang Yang's message came. "Let's go. Master has something to tell us." Xiang Yang glanced at them and said with a smile, "I'm afraid it's about junior brother Chui's dual cultivation arrangement." "All right," Xiao Hua helplessly ordered. He didn't dare to disobey. When Xiao Hua and Xiang Yang arrived at the Immortal's Cave, everyone in the Myriad Thunder Valley was there. Xiao Hua greeted Zhuo Minghui and answered a few questions. Without hesitation, he sat down next to Yin Qinglian, facing Cui Hongshan and Xiang Yang. Helplessly, his face darkened again. However, he glanced at Zhuo Minghui, who was signaling him with her eyes, and asked plainly, "Xiang Yang, how's the matter with your second junior brother? It's about time for the agreement with the converted Thunder Palace." "All right, teacher understands. Everything is ready. We just need to wait for junior brother Cui to bring the list of betrothal gifts over and for Marshal Uncle Dui to nod his head. Then, we can report to the deafening Thunder Palace and begin the dual cultivation ceremony." Helplessly, he nodded in satisfaction. "This old man has many matters to attend to, so I'll have to trouble you." "I don't dare," Xiang Yang hurriedly said modestly. He looked at Cui Hongshan and said, "We should let junior brother Cui make a trip to the converted Thunder Palace and see how junior sister Dui will break it down. If possible, we can send the betrothal gifts at any time." Sai helplessly waved his hand and said somewhat helplessly, "Don't be anxious. Who knows if there will be any changes?" "Teacher, what do you mean?" Cui Hongshan was a little anxious when he heard this and stood up. "Oh?" Xiao Hua was stunned at first, but then he became happy. He laughed inwardly. Could it be that Dui Qiming has a change of heart? "Hongshan, don't be anxious." Helplessly waved his hand and repeated Zhan Shichao's words. He frowned and said, "This Marshal Uncle Zhan's words are indeed a little difficult to understand. This old man also doesn't know. Teacher, why do you care about them?" "We only care about the betrothal gifts," Cui Hongshan hurriedly said before helplessly could finish. Helplessly nodded as though he had already made a decision. He said to Xiang Yang, "It wasn't supposed to be a date, but there seems to be some unforeseen circumstances. It's better to bring it forward. Make the preparations. When Hongshan returns from Dui Thunder Palace, immediately bring him to Seismic Thunder Palace to report." "Yes, this disciple understands." Xiang Yang hurriedly stood up. "This disciple will go make the preparations now." "Good." Helplessly waved his hand and indicated for his disciples to leave. However, at this moment, a purple-red light flew past, and there was a faint sound of wind and thunder. 100,000 fire, urgent thunder note talisman? Helplessly was shocked. He hurriedly stood up from the jade chair and respectfully reached out to receive it. Thunder Tablet Spiritual Master's voice came from the Thunder Note Talisman. All disciples of Seismic Thunder Palace, stop everything and head to Seismic Thunder Palace. Yes, this disciple understands. Helplessly bowed and turned to Xiang Yang. You don't make the preparations first. Wait for this old man to return. Helplessly, he flew up and left the cave. The people of Myriad Thunder Valley looked at each other, and Cui Hongshan was even more disappointed. He understood that something big must have happened in Imperial Thunder Sect, and that was why Zhen Shichao said those words. Teacher's wife, what happened? Xiaohua was gloating and couldn't help but ask in a low voice. Zhuo Minghui shook her head slightly. I don't know either. Immediately after, she thought for a while and said, in my memory, it seems that Thunder Tablet Spiritual Master only issued a Thunder Note talisman that all disciples of Seismic Thunder Palace must gather at the beginning of the Battle of Imperial Demon Valley. Oh? Xiaohua asked curiously. There seems to be a long time until the next Battle of Imperial Demon Valley? Yes, so I don't know. Zhuo Minghui nodded and comforted. Don't panic. You are just Foundation Establishment cultivators. Even if it's the Battle of Imperial Demon Valley, it's not your turn to participate. Yes, this disciple understands. Xiaohua nodded. At this moment, Cui Hongshan couldn't sit still anymore. After thinking for a while, he said, Teacher's wife. This disciple wants to send a message talisman to Qimeng and ask her what happened. Yes, send it. Zhuo Minghui smiled. Perhaps Converted Thunder Palace has some news. However, not long after, Dui Qimeng replied with a message talisman. She also didn't know what happened. Xiaohua originally didn't want to inquire, but seeing Cui Hongshan's disappointment, he smiled and said, Teacher's wife, this disciple will also send a message talisman. How could Zhuo Minghui not know Xiaohua's narrow-mindedness? Originally, she didn't want him to send it, but seeing Cui Hongshan's restless appearance, she smiled and said, then send it. Not long after, Qian Diheng's message talisman came back. Seeing it, Xiaohua unconsciously jumped down from his chair and said in surprise, Ah? Huan Country's sword cultivators are attacking? What? Sword cultivators? Zhuo Minghui and the others were shocked when they heard it. Why did sword cultivators come to make trouble? A battle of swords. It seems like it hasn't happened for tens of thousands of years, right? -8. Chapter 2200. Is your information accurate? Cui Hongshan's face turned cold as he asked, Don't spout nonsense. Believe it or not. Xiaohua raised his summoning talisman and said, Heavenly Thunder Palace is definitely more well-informed than Exchanged Thunder Palace. Then, he glanced at him and said, But don't panic. According to Qian Diheng, my Imperial Thunder Sect is going to send disciples to fight with sword cultivators. These disciples are also very particular. Those who haven't broken through for a long time are the first choice. Qi refinement. There are also many disciples above the 10th layer of Qi refinement. There are very few disciples like my Myriad Thunder Valley, so disciples who have just broken through won't be chosen. Oh, so it's like that. Cui Hongshan sighed in relief. Of course, Myriad Thunder Valley only had 3 disciples, which was very few. Moreover, one of the eldest disciples had just advanced to the middle stage of Foundation establishment 10 years ago, and the other 2 disciples had just advanced to the early stage of Foundation establishment. It was impossible to choose the Myriad Thunder Valley's disciples. Qimeng is also a famous disciple of Exchanged Thunder Palace, so I'm afraid she won't be chosen either. Zhuo Minghui's heart also relaxed, and she said to Cui Hongshan with a smile, Zhenshi, Marshal Uncle Chao Zhen's intention should be to postpone your dual cultivation ceremony until these disciples set off. Hongshan, you shouldn't worry about personal gains and losses. Disciple understands? Cui Hongshan said with a smile, his face clear up. Why do Qi refinement disciples also have to go? Xiaohua asked in a low voice. Their cultivation levels are low. Humph, what do you know? Cui Hongshan sneered. When the sword sect attacks, Every sect and even every cultivation sect will send disciples to participate. However, who would send out their elite disciples? Those disciples with potential who can develop are all hidden in the sect, and only those disciples who have no hope of advancing are sent out. Moreover, every sect cares about the number of people, so who knows what the cultivation levels of the disciples you send out are like? Aren't those chi refinement disciples just there to make up the numbers? Besides, they can't even reach foundation establishment, so it's better for them to fight with sword cultivators. Maybe they can comprehend something during the battle, and maybe even reach foundation establishment. Xiaohua knew what Cui Hongshan said was the truth. He smiled wryly and shook his head. In that case, not only will the disciples we send be in danger, even those aura-refining disciples most likely won't be able to return alive? Yes, that's right. Cui Hongshan nodded. The 10th layer of Qi refining is already a threshold. Any lower, and I won't be able to bring it out. Let other sects look down on my Imperial Thunder sect. But if they were to fight against a sword cultivator, there would be a price to pay. Besides, not all sword cultivators are high-level swordsmen. They also have low-level swordsmen. Aren't these aura-refining disciples going to fight against them?
Yes.
Xiaohua was silent. After all, the majority of low-level cultivators on the Daybreak continent were low-level cultivators. When sword cultivators and Dao sect cultivators fought, although those high-level cultivators had a decisive effect, they couldn't be completely relied on. Sometimes, low-level cultivators were also chess pieces that could win by surprise on the battlefield. Io shue shue, Xiaohua suddenly thought, but then he smiled again. Qin Diheng wasn't flustered at all. He naturally wouldn't be chosen. His jade slip also didn't mention Shue Shue, so she naturally wouldn't be in danger. Besides, Shue Shue's master was Sun Ming, an early-stage Aurus Core cultivator. She also had some status in Sunlei Palace, so she could protect Shue Shue from being sent out. Besides, Shue Shue had just built her foundation and was in closed-door cultivation. Sunlei Palace wouldn't kill the goose that lays the golden eggs. Right, master's wife. What's Martial Uncle Sun Ming's cultivation level now? Xiaohua suddenly asked. Oh, it said that he just advanced to the middle stage of Aurus Core 2 years ago. Zhuo Minghui smiled and said, no need to worry about Shue Shue. A middle stage Aurus Core disciple won't be easily sent out. Then what about late-stage foundation building cultivators with many disciples? Xiaohua glanced at Cui Hongshan and said faintly, probably not. Zhuo Minghui saw Cui Hongshan's expression change slightly, so she hurriedly answered, Humph, now that you have some free time, you'd better worry about your own cultivation. Cui Hongshan snorted coldly. Fortunately, you built your foundation. Otherwise, you'd definitely have a share this time. If you go, my myriad Thunder Valley's disciples will wither even more. Cui Hongshan, if I go, I'll also be going to fight sword cultivators. How do you know I won't be able to return? Xiaohua retorted sarcastically. I definitely won't let you be alone. I'll definitely be able to return safely. Whether you return or not depends on the sword cultivator's flying sword, not your mouth. Cui Hongshan also said coldly. With your early-stage foundation building cultivation, you haven't made any progress in 10 years. Going out to fight sword cultivators is just one word. There won't be any other result. Hee hee, if I'm like this, what about you? Xiaohua curled his lips even more. You can't be that strong either. AI, it's still all right. Xiang Yang also wiped his forehead and said rejoicingly, little junior brother built his foundation at the beginning of his experiential learning. Thunderous Palace also didn't know. Otherwise what? A helpless voice sounded. Otherwise he wouldn't have been sent out? Master. Xiang Yang and the others hurriedly got up and went over. However, they saw Helpless' extremely gloomy face, and he flew somewhat slowly. Seeing this, Xiaohua's heart thumped. Not good. As expected, Helpless first glanced at Xiaohua with a complicated expression. Without even entering the cave, he asked, how do you know my Dao sect is going to fight sword cultivators? Yes, Master knows. It's a message talisman sent by Qiandiheng of Heavenly Thunder Palace. Xiaohua said honestly. And then, Qiandiheng, Martial Uncle Qian owes you a favor. Helpless nodded. You? Should send a message talisman to Qiandiheng and see if Martial Uncle Qian can speak up for you? Ah? It can't be. Xiao Hua stared blankly, puzzled. You really have disciples? I just advanced to early-stage foundation building. Moreover, my myriad Thunder Valley only has 3 disciples. You're sending them out just like that? Is there a need for this? Helpless smiled bitterly. My myriad Thunder Valley only has 3 disciples. This time, we're sending out 2 at once. Me? Cui Hongshan stared blankly, his mouth almost half open. He felt that it was inconceivable. Xiao Hua was sent out because he hadn't been able to advance for many years. On the other hand, his own cultivation had been steadily increasing all this time. Yes, helpless, he took out a jade archive and waved it in front of his eyes. It's you and Xiao Hua, 2 disciples of my myriad Thunder Valley, who just advanced to early-stage foundation building. Husband, Zhuo Minghui said anxiously. Is there a mistake? You should explain to Lei Mingzhenren. Our myriad Thunder Valley has few disciples, and they just advanced to foundation building. How can we send them out? Hee. Do you think your husband doesn't want to explain? Helpless, he smiled bitterly and stepped into the cave. Your husband only received this jade archive. I didn't even see anyone's face. I heard that Lei Mingzhenren already closed his palace and didn't want to see anyone. The list of people to be sent out has already been confirmed. There's no possibility of changing it. Helpless, he looked at Xiao Hua and said, if Senior Gantian can speak, Xiao Hua might have a chance. Sigh. Xiao Hua sighed. When Gantian got Zhongyao's milk, he had already given him the spiritual armor and the jade scroll. He had already returned the favor. If he sent a message to Qiandiheng, it wouldn't make things difficult for him, but if Gantian saw it, would he speak up for him? Even if he spoke up, he had no choice. Even Lei Mingzhenren had closed his palace. How could Gantian speak up? It was best not to send such a message. Xiao Hua sighed. Cui Hongshan's face turned even more ashen. He knew clearly that Dao sect was at a disadvantage against sword cultivators. As an early-stage foundation-building cultivator, he only had a little more confidence than an energy-refining disciple. Speaking of which, high-level swordsmen might not attack energy-refining disciples, but against foundation-building disciples, they definitely wouldn't show mercy. He had a higher chance of dying than energy-refining disciples. Sigh, I don't know if that child Qimeng. Zhuo Minghui also felt that something was wrong. Wait a moment. Helpless, he waved his hand. There will be news soon. Right now, there is chaos everywhere. Asking more will only make things more troublesome. After saying that, he looks at Xiao Hua's indifferent appearance. Feeling both helpless and angry, he scolds. Xiao Hua, you little brat. Your second martial brother doesn't have any connections and there's no other way. You have the Heavenly Thunder Palace's connections. Why don't you try? Do you want to anger me to death? You want me to accept another disciple? Forget it, Zhuo Minghui said in a low voice. It's better to ask for help than to ask for help. It's hard to ask for help, and you have to look at other people's faces. If Xiao Hua doesn't ask for help, then forget it. Ask for help? How can he ask for help? This time, he was lucky that Zhenren Jingxi didn't kill him, so he saved his life. Helpless, he almost jumped up. How can there be such a good thing in the Sword Catacomb? If he leaves the Imperial Thunder sect, there will be no other path. He will definitely be buried in the Sword Catacomb. Master, you want me to die in the Sword Catacomb so much? Xiao Hua smiled bitterly. You think I want it? I'm willing to go in your place. Helpless said angrily. But I can't go. Damn it. I haven't condensed my core yet. I'm not a gold core cultivator. I'm not a direct disciple of the Thunder Palace. Helpless suddenly stood up and roared. I'm going to use my lightning core. I'm going to condense my core. I don't have to wait in the Thunder Palace to see if there's any chance to keep you 2 disappointing disciples in the 10,000 Thunder Valley. I can't even protect 2 good-for-nothing disciples. After saying that, Helpless suddenly flew up and headed out of the cave. Ah? Master. Xiao Hua was stunned, Cui Hongshan was stunned, and Xiang Yang was also stunned. Zhuo Minghui woke up quickly. She hurriedly flew up and chased after him, shouting, "Old man, why are you running?" Watching Zhuo Minghui and helpless leave, Xiao Hua looked at Xiangyang. Cui Hongshan also looked at Xiangyang, and the three of them looked at each other. Helpless. A peak late-stage foundation establishment cultivator actually revealed his feelings in front of so many disciples. This was indeed because he was forced into helplessness in the Thunder Palace. There was no way to not reveal the true feelings in his heart. Come to vote for it. -8. Chapter 2201. Why aren't you sending a message talisman? Cui Hongshan said coldly, if you can stay, perhaps Master's mood will be better. Why should I send a message talisman? Xiao Hua said coldly, I'm not a spineless person who is afraid of sword cultivators. I also want to let Master know that myriad Thunder Valley disciples are not afraid of being schemed against. Myriad Thunder Valley disciples can live well under other people's schemes. Even if Xiao Hua had the intention to send a message talisman, seeing Master's helpless expression, he would never send it out. Humph, you only know how to make Master angry. Cui Hongshan rebuked angrily. What else can you do? What spineless person, if spineless Master can? At this moment, another message talisman flew in and landed in Cui Hongshan's hand. Cui Hongshan's expression changed greatly, and when he finished reading the message talisman, he looked as if he had lost his parents. What's wrong? Junior brother Cui. Yin Qinglian said anxiously. Is it Qimeng? Cui Hongshan said with a gloomy face. Qimeng. She was also sent out. 4 of them have been chosen. Alas, Yin Qinglian sighed, feeling bitter in her heart. She knew that Dui Qimeng had encountered the same situation as Cui Hongshan. Then what about your dual cultivation? Yin Qinglian probed again. Qimeng already said in the Jade Slip that from today onwards, all disciples of the Thunder Palace can't go into seclusion and can't do anything unrelated to preparation. Cui Hongshan said bitterly, the dual cultivation ceremony can't be held either. Shouldn't you at least give a betrothal gift first? Xiangyang suggested. Alas, senior brother, why talk about betrothal gifts at this time? Wait until we come back alive. Cui Hongshan clapped his hands, took out 2 jade boxes, and handed them to Xiangyang. Senior brother, you should keep this thunder pill. When we go out, I'm afraid we will die. It's safer to leave this thing in Myriad Thunder Valley. Then, he looked at Xiao Hua, obviously wanting Xiao Hua to take out the thunder pill. However, Xiao Hua didn't even spare him a glance. His gaze was fixed on the outside of the cave. Xiangyang also looked at Xiao Hua. Seeing that Xiao Hua didn't move, he hurriedly blocked with his hand and said, Junior brother Cui, this is your thing. You should take it with you. What if you can take the inner core during this period? Wouldn't that be an additional life-saving asset? How is that possible? Cui Hongshan shook his head and said, I know myself well, unlike some people. I've only just reached the early stage of foundation establishment, so I won't be able to step into the middle stage of foundation establishment in a short period of time. Even if I do, I won't be able to take such a strong inner core. Leaving this thing with me will only benefit a sword cultivator. It's better to leave it to a descendant of the myriad Thunder Valley. Seeing that Cui Hongshan's attitude was extremely firm, Xiangyang was also helpless. He took it and said with a forced smile, I'll take it for the time being. Let's wait for Master to come back first. I won't take it anymore. Cui Hongshan sighed and quickly walked out of the cave. Seeing that there was no one in the cave, Xiangyang glanced at Yin Qinglian, as if asking for her opinion. Yin Qinglian nodded slightly, and Xiangyang waved his hand, and a silencing restriction appeared. Eldest senior brother, what are you doing? Xiao Hua was releasing his Buddhist sense and quietly looking into the distance. Helplessly, he sat on a pine tree and looked at the dark clouds in the distance with extreme helplessness. Zhuo Minghui accompanied him like a little bird, leaning her head on helplessly's shoulder. Seeing Xiangyang like this, he couldn't help but feel surprised. Junior brother Xiao, now that things have come to this, I have no choice but to ask you. Xiangyang said in a low voice, you have to tell me honestly, your cultivation. What level has it reached? You can't tell Master, but you can tell me. Don't worry, I definitely won't leak it to you. Even if Master asks, I won't say. Haha, Xiao Hua laughed and waved his hand, using the heaven and earth in the sleeve to easily break the silencing restriction. He also walked out of the cave. Is this very important? Junior brother Xiao, wait. Xiang Yang hurriedly chased after Xiao Hua and shouted, "Of course this is very important." I don't think so. As Xiao Hua spoke, his figure had already left the cave, and he didn't intend to look back. How could he not know what Xiang Yang was thinking? Since the two disciples of the myriad Thunder Valley went out together, one of them had to protect the other. Needless to say, Xiang Yang wanted him to protect Cui Hongxin. Xiao Hua just didn't like Cui Hongxin, so how could he agree to this? Husband. Yin Qinglian hurriedly pulled Xiang Yang's sleeve and said, "Don't chase after him." What? Xiang Yang was a bit anxious. Xiao Hua is too insensible. Even now, he still hasn't explained his background to us clearly. Alas, husband, you're really too anxious. Yin Qinglian stretched out her hand and used the silencing restriction, saying, "Why don't you break this concubine's restriction? How can your husband?" Xiang Yang frowned and reprimanded her, but then he came to a realization and said, "Wife, you mean, nonsense?" Yin Qinglian felt exasperated at her husband's failure to live up to her expectations. She lowered her voice and said, "Husband, junior martial brother Xiao was able to fight against 3 early-stage foundation establishment cultivators before he even built his foundation, and even killed one of them. After he built his foundation, he became even more powerful. He even broke the lightning beast's blood seal. How can you and I not know how strong he is? Why do you have to make him admit it?" Moreover, he didn't even worry about Xue Xue when he met a nascent soul cultivator in Gue Hisi. Naturally, he has confidence in Xiao Hua's strength. What do you think Xiao Hua's current strength is? No, it can't be. Xiang Yang didn't dare to voice out his doubts at this time. Xiao Hua's cultivation can't be comparable to a nascent soul cultivator, right? That's impossible. Yin Qinglian shook her head. But as for Xiao Hua's cultivation, you and I already talked about it before. There's no point in talking about it now. You don't have to say anything, especially about Xiao Hua's cultivation. Now go to Xiao Hua's cave and tell him about junior brother Cui. Don't worry, although Xiao Hua is angry with junior brother Cui, if it really reaches the point of life and death, Xiao Hua definitely won't stand by and watch. So you're saying that your husband doesn't even need to go? Xiang Yang rolled his eyes. You're the eldest senior brother. You have to treat everyone equally. Words still need to be said, and things still need to be done. Yin Qinglian said with a smile. All right. Xiang Yang nodded helplessly. You should open the restriction. Your husband isn't Xiao Hua. How can I casually open this restriction? Buffed. Yin Qinglian covered her mouth and laughed. She punched Xiang Yang's shoulder and said, "Why aren't you going?" Hearing Xiang Yang's persuasion, Xiao Hua didn't respond. He said indifferently, "Ever since little brother Cui Hongxin built his foundation, I've already called him senior. His life and death has nothing to do with little brother." -8. Chapter 2202. Junior brother Xiao. Just as Xiang Yang was about to earnestly advise him, Xiao Hua raised his head and said, "Master has already gone back. Eldest senior brother should also hurry back. See if Master has anything else to say. Little brother is also vexed right now and wants some peace and quiet." Alas, all right. Xiang Yang looked at his little junior brother who had always been obedient in front of him. He didn't know why Xiao Hua lost his obedience when Cui Hongxin was mentioned. With a sigh, he solemnly placed the 2 jade boxes on the jade table and left with his head lowered. Big. Xiao Hua raised his hand to stop Xiang Yang, but when he saw Xiang Yang's frown, he retracted his hand. Looking at Xiang Yang's back gradually disappearing, he also frowned. After thinking for a moment, Xiao Hua still flicked his sleeves and kept the 2 jade boxes in his space. Immediately after, he sent out the 2 messaging talismans. However, just as the 2 messaging talismans flew out, another messaging talisman came. Xiao Hua took the messaging talisman and looked at it. It was from Sun Shu, asking if he was selected to be sent to fight with sword cultivators. A trace of hesitation appeared in Xiao Hua's eyes. After thinking for a moment, he honestly said it and sent out the other messaging talisman. In less than half a day, Sun Shu and Qian Diheng once again rushed over. As soon as Qian Diheng saw Xiao Hua, he shouted, "Junior Marshal Brother Xiao, this is really unreasonable. Your myriad Thunder Valley only has 3 disciples. How could you be chosen? Besides, you just built your foundation." "Humph, not only me." Xiao Hua sneered. Cui Hongshan was also selected. "Damn it." Qian Diheng laughed and slapped his forehead. "I'm afraid someone is scheming against your myriad Thunder Valley." That's right." Xiao Hua nodded. "Fortunately, eldest senior brother wasn't selected." "That's very fortunate." "It's impossible for senior brother Xiang to be selected." Qian Diheng shook his head. "I heard that senior brother Xiang's son is very talented. Senior brother Xiang's husband is noble because of his son. He definitely won't be sent out." "Both of you weren't selected?" Xiao Hua asked curiously. "Alas, junior brother Xiao knows." Sun Shu sighed. "None of Master's disciples were selected. Junior sister Shui is in seclusion and won't be selected. Don't worry." "It's really unfair." Xiao Hua shook his head again. "Fair?" Qian Diheng sneered. "Where is the fairness in this world? If there was fairness, Kuan Fian's matter would have been exposed long ago." Of course." Sun Shu also sneered. "There are only 3 disciples in the myriad Thunder Valley. Now, 2 disciples who have just built their foundation have been kicked out. Where is the fairness?" "Junior brother Xiao." Qian Diheng once again spoke in a sincere and heartfelt manner. "This father had allowed you to enter my heavenly Thunder Palace in the past, but look at you now. I can't stop you even if I want to. It is said that Thunder Ming Daoist has already sealed himself in his palace and will not meet anyone. You have to go." "It's not just Reverend Lei Ming. All the palace masters are in seclusion, and even the sect masters are not showing their faces," Sun Shu said with a wry smile. "It seems that all the seniors have their own difficulties. I don't have anything good to give you." Qian Diheng passes a storage pouch to Xiao Hua. "Take these first. There's still half a year left. This elder brother will help you take a look to see if there's anything else." "Half a year?" Xiao Hua was slightly startled. "Why is there still half a year left?" We're only selecting disciples now. There's still half a year before we head to the border with Hung Country. Our Dao sect has already started a war with Hung Country's sword cultivators, but Ming Country, Lian Country, and other countries are also participating. They and the sects in the north of Shi Country have already sent their disciples over. Our Imperial Thunder sect can join the war after half a year." Sun Shu explained and also handed over a storage pouch. Smiling apologetically, "This concubine can't compare to junior brother Qian. This is also concubine's daily accumulation. Junior brother, please keep it. In another half a year, this concubine will also have these." Xiao Hua hesitated for a moment before accepting it. This is Sun Shu's kind intention. He can't reject it no matter what. Xiao Hua looked at Qian Diheng again and didn't accept it. Instead, he said, "You'd better help me find those pills. The things in this storage pouch, I don't think this little brother will be interested in them." "You?" Qian Diheng's eyes rolled, somewhat astonished, but he tactfully shut his mouth and nodded. "This elder brother understands. This elder brother will go and collect them. There's still half a year left. At that time, I'll give you some more things." Xiao Hua nodded. "Good." Qian Diheng turned around and left without hesitation. Sun Shu listened to the two of them talking about things she didn't understand, but she didn't seem to be angry. Her pair of beautiful eyes only looked at Xiao Hua. After Qian Diheng left, Sun Shu said in a soft voice, "Xiao Hua, actually, there are some words this concubine shouldn't say. But if I don't say it, I'm afraid I won't have the chance to say it." Xiao Hua acted as if he didn't hear it and said, "By the way, senior sister Sun, when will Shui Shui come out of seclusion?" Hearing this, Sun Shu secretly sighed in her heart. Knowing that Xiao Hua didn't give her a chance to speak, she could only say, "At least 1 year, at most 4 years. Good." Xiao Hua nodded and said word by word, "This Xiao won't leave her any message talisman, but I asked senior sister Sun to tell her that this Xiao will definitely return safely." Sun Shu nodded sadly and said, "Okay, junior brother Xiao trusts this concubine so much. How can this concubine dare not to obey? Since that's the case, This Xiao also needs to make some preparations. Xiaohua stood up and said. Sun Shu knew that Xiaohua wanted to see them off, so she also said with a smile, this concubine will go back now. When you leave the Imperial Thunder sect, this concubine will come to see you off. Good. Xiaohua smiled and nodded. After a day, he helplessly called Xiaohua and Cui Hongshan to his cave residence and handed them 2 storage pouches. He said with a forced smile, this is what Master can give you. You can keep it. I'm afraid that the Thunder Palace's reward will only be given when you go to war. Many thanks, Master. At this time, Cui Hongshan seemed to have thought it through and calmly received it. Xiaohua took the storage pouch and tied it to his waist without even looking at it. He asked, Master, there's still more than half a year before we go to Huan country. Can we leave the Imperial Thunder sect? What do you want to do? Xiaohua frowned helplessly. This disciple knows that this trip is dangerous and wants to take advantage of the time before we leave the Imperial Thunder sect to go somewhere else to do some things. In addition, I also want to make some preparations and go to the auction to find some medicinal pills. Xiaohua said without hiding anything. You want to use this as an excuse to escape. Cui Hongshan didn't hold back his disdain and said coldly, loose cultivators are loose cultivators. Junior brother Cui. Xiang Yang was shocked. Without waiting for Xiaohua to speak, he immediately scolded. Xiaohua is your senior brother from the same sect. How can you say that to him? He clearly knows that all the selected disciples are grounded and can't even go into seclusion, but he still wants to leave the Imperial Thunder sect. If he's not running away, what else can he do? Cui Hongshan didn't understand why Xiang Yang suddenly scolded him and defended himself. You shut up, Xiang Yang said anxiously. How can I not know what kind of person Xiaohua is? If he says he has something to do, then he must have something to do. Yes, Cui Hongshan saw that Xiang Yang was so angry. Although he felt disdain in his heart, he didn't dare to talk back in front of Xiaohua. Xiaohua ignored the two and stared at Xiaohua for a long time. Then, he said word by word, Xiaohua, tell me, where are you going and what are you going to do? Xiaohua raised his head. His eyes were bright, and he didn't seem to be afraid. He said word by word, this is disciple's secret. It's not convenient to tell Master. Cui Hongshan saw this and almost wanted to stomp his feet again. But when he saw Xiang Yang looking at him from the side, he clenched his teeth and his cheeks bulged. In the end, he didn't say anything. He looked at Xiaohua helplessly. It seemed that he was trying to distinguish whether Xiaohua was telling the truth or not. But just from Xiaohua's eyes, he couldn't see anything. Zhuo Minghui also hesitated on the side, not knowing how to explain. Forget it. Suddenly, Xiaohua seemed to have made a decision. He seemed to have aged a few years. He clapped his hands and took out a keepsake. He handed it to Xiaohua and said, Xiaohua, when you entered this old man's sect, this old man almost didn't give you any pointers. The few things I taught you were taught by your senior brother on behalf of this old man. You have always been biting off more than you can chew. The things your senior brother taught you may not be worthy of your attention. You are indeed wronged under this old man's sect. Moreover, you have just reported to the Jade Archive Hall. According to the usual practice, you will definitely not be selected. This is also this old man's fault for implicating you. This old man will bear this responsibility. This is this old man's keepsake. You can use this to enter and leave the Imperial Thunder sect. You can go now. Master. Cui Hongshan shouted anxiously. Disciple has already heard from Qi Ming that all the selected disciples can't enter or leave the Imperial Thunder sect. If there is a special situation and they can't go out, then the disciple must use the teacher's keepsake to go out. The teacher who gave the disciple the keepsake must bear the responsibility. If the disciple doesn't know how to do it, then half a year later, when all the disciples go out, it will be when the disciple's teacher dies. Hearing that there was such a rule, even Xiang Yang and Yin Qinglian, who were very confident in Xiaohua, were shocked. They both looked at Xiaohua. Go. As if he didn't hear Cui Hongshan's words, he said to Xiaohua in a low voice, if you have something to do, then go quickly. The sooner you go, the sooner you can come back. Yes, disciple understands. Xiaohua didn't stand on ceremony. He took the keepsake, turned around, and left the cave. He didn't even return to his own cave, and went straight to Sky Thunder Peak. Master. Seeing that Xiaohua didn't even return to his cave, Cui Hongshan became even angrier and shouted, Xiaohua clearly has the intention to leave. Alas, the sky wants to rain. The mother wants to marry. Let him be. Xiaohua sat on the jade chair. His eyes were a little blank as he looked at the place where Xiaohua disappeared and sighed. Alas, Cui Hongshan stomped his feet and walked out with the storage pouch in his hand. His face was full of anger. Xiangyang and Yin Qinglian wanted to say something, but they didn't know where to start. They waved their hands helplessly. You two can go back too. Master wants some peace and quiet. Yes, disciple understands. Xiangyang and Yin Qinglian took their leave. Just as they took a few steps, a helpless voice came from behind. Xiangyang, you have to remember, only when your fist is hard will it be the truth. You and Qinglian still have to cultivate properly. Lear, you two also have to take care of him. It must be like what you said. My myriad Thunder Valley must produce a spirit-severing cultivator. -8. Chapter 2203. Disciple. Disciple understands. Xiang Yang's heart ached, and he almost shed tears. Helplessly, these words seemed to have a hint of his last words. Helplessness, helplessness. He actually still didn't have confidence in Xiaohua. Xiaohua didn't even return to his immortal's cave. He activated his flying technique and went straight to Sky Thunder Peak. Sure enough, as Cui Hongshan said, the entire Sky Thunder Peak was already guarded by Imperial Thunder Sect disciples. On the mountain path, in the air, several foundation building disciples were standing guard, and dozens of aura refining disciples were constantly patrolling. They didn't have the freedom they had before. Seeing Xiaohua fly over, a late-stage foundation building old man scanned with his divine sense and flew over. He scolded, "Which Thunder Palace disciple is this? Where are you going on business? Do you have a token from Thunder Palace?" Xiaohua didn't dare to be negligent. He stopped in midair and respectfully took out his token and helplessness's token. He handed them over and said with an apologetic smile, "Disciple is Xiaohua from Thunder Palace. I have an urgent matter to attend to and have to leave the sect. Senior Martial Brother, please check." And the old man took the two items and scanned them with his divine sense. He asked curiously, "Your token?" Immediately, the old man seemed to realize something and shouted, "Senior Martial Brother Qian, please come here." Junior Martial Brother Can, what's the matter? A thin old man about the same age as the old man flew over. Please use the discrimination chime. Junior Martial Brother Can said with a smile. Oh, this disciple was selected? Senior Martial Brother Qian was surprised. He clapped his hand and took out a magic tool that looked like a chime jar. Senior Martial Brother Qian activated his magic power, and a cyan flame shot out from the chime jar. It was 3 feet tall. Junior Martial Brother Can threw Xiaohua's command tablet into the magic tool. With a thunderous boom, a purple lightning bolt flashed out of the jar and struck Xiaohua's command tablet out of the jar. As expected, Senior Martial Brother Qian's eyes flashed with a strange light. He looked at Xiaohua and said, "This disciple was selected to go to Huan Country. This is his master's token." Junior Martial Brother Can waved helplessness's token in front of Senior Martial Brother Qian and also threw it into the magic tool. Unlike Xiaohua's token, helplessness's token didn't have any abnormalities. Senior Martial Brother Qian waved his hand and took out helplessness's token. He scanned it with his divine perception and said in a low voice, "Oh, deafening Thunder Palace and myriad Thunder Valley." With a wave of his hand, Junior Martial Brother Can sent out a message talisman. "Why did you leave the Imperial Thunder Sect?" Junior Brother Can turned his head and asked Xiaohua. Xiaohua didn't want to deceive the two of them. He said, "Disciple met an alchemist in Jinghua City last time. Disciple gave him spirit stones and ordered some early-stage foundation establishment pills. If I don't go now, the spirit stones will be wasted." Hee. Senior Brother Qian laughed and glanced at Junior Brother Kansas. Junior Brother Can, how many times have you heard these words today? If not 1,000, then at least 800. Junior brother Qin said with a smile. There are even more bizarre reasons than this. Xiao Hua's expression didn't change. He just stood there quietly. He didn't reply. What? You look quite calm. Senior Martial Brother Qian pointed at him and said, You're a disciple of the Imperial Thunder Sect. You're a member of the Imperial Thunder Sect in life, and a ghost of the Imperial Thunder Sect in death. My Imperial Thunder Sect nurtured you from the first level of the Aura Refining Realm to the early stage of the Foundation Establishment Realm. We've never mistreated you with spiritual pills, spirit stones, and so on. Now that my Imperial Thunder Sect has a use for you, you actually want to run away. Do you think you're worthy of my Imperial Thunder Sect? Although Xiao Hua frowned slightly, he was already impatient. He was pressed for time and had no choice but to delay here and be humiliated. However, after thinking for a moment, Xiao Hua boasted that he didn't dare to oppose the Imperial Thunder Sect. He bowed and said, Senior Martial Brothers, you're overthinking. Since I have the Master's token in my hand, I'll definitely take the Master's safety to heart. How can I be as unbearable as you two say? Alas, you can't judge a book by its cover. Junior Martial Brother can look distressed. If that's really the case, you should obediently stay in Myriad Thunder Valley. Wait for half a year before setting off. At that time, it won't be too late for you to go to Jinghua City. Why are you in such a hurry? But this Xiao only has a little more than a month left. Xiao Hua said with a bitter smile. It's only a few spirit stones. If you don't go, your master will compensate you. Senior Martial Brother Qian said again, still unwilling to let Xiao Hua go. Xiao Hua became impatient and said with a smile, Does this Xiao meet the requirements of leaving the sect? Senior Martial Brother Qian glanced at Junior Martial Brother Can and nodded helplessly. You do. Very good. Xiao Hua cupped his hands and said, Many thanks. After saying that, he was about to fly away. Wait, Senior Martial Brother Qian shouted. Xiao Hua, this old man still has one last thing to say to you. It's true that you meet the requirements of leaving the sect, and you're also the first disciple to leave the sect. Although your master trusts you, this old man and the others don't. This old man advises you, don't take half a step out of Sky Thunder Peak with evil intentions. I know. Xiao Hua was about to leave again. Did this old man and the others allow you to leave? Junior Martial Brother Can coldly shouted. Xiao Hua was very helpless as he turned around and asked, What else do you two Senior Martial Brothers want? Wait until your master's life is confirmed, then you can leave. All right. Xiao Hua understood what kind of summoning talisman Junior Brother Can sent out just now. Sure enough, in the time it took to smoke a cigarette, a communication talisman flew back. Junior Martial Brother Can looked at it and nodded. Jade Archive Hall replied, Myriad Thunder Valley's Helpless Life Tablet is fine. Go. Senior Martial Brother Qian looked at Xiao Hua meaningfully and waved his hand. Xiao Hua's token was thrown to Xiao Hua, but Helpless token was left behind. This old man will leave Helpless token. When you return to the sect, you can ask this old man for it. Otherwise, Xiao Hua took the token. This time, he didn't cup his hands. Instead, he activated his magic power and flew towards the mountain path of Sky Thunder Peak. When his figure landed, he hurriedly flew down. AI, this Helpless. Senior Martial Brother Qian looked at the token in his hand and threw it into the jar with a wave of his hand. He sighed and said, I'm afraid it bodes ill rather than well. Who can you blame? It's just that his ears are soft. Junior Martial Brother Can sneered. This Can really didn't expect that there would actually be a master who would put his own life in the hands of his own disciple. Xiao Hua flew down the mountain. When he could fly, he immediately flew into the air and swept out his Buddhist awareness. When he saw that there was no one nearby, he immediately activated the Bright Thunder Escape. True essence flowed around his body, and the two invisible dots in his dantian faintly emitted crackling lightning. The rumbling sound of thunder came from Xiao Hua's magic power. His figure was extremely fast to the limit of the Bright Thunder Escape. I'll take advantage of this opportunity to see if I can master the Imperial Thunder Escape. Xiao Hua's eyes slightly flashed as he looked towards the direction of Yellow Flower Ridge. -8. Chapter 2204. This young master originally wanted to wait until after the core condensation stage before going to 100 Herbs sect. However, since there's a battle with sword cultivators, this young master is not afraid, but senior brother is right. It's better to be safe than sorry. If this young master were to have an accident in the battle with the sword cultivators, then wouldn't my master's revenge be impossible? Now that this young master's cultivation is close to the middle stage of gold core, there's absolutely no problem for me to face Jiang Jiantong alone. However, I'm afraid of being surrounded by the disciples of 100 Herbs sect and the formation of Yellow Flower Ridge. 100 Herbs sect has been in my Shang Huaming's hands for dozens of years. I'm afraid that they have already changed their formation. Previously, Shang Huaming's formation could not even be broken by a foundation establishment cultivator in the hands of 3 Qi refining disciples. With the reinforcement of 100 Herbs sect and the support of a foundation establishment cultivator, this young master is afraid that this young master will not be able to easily break in. This way, killing Jiang Jiantong will be a bit difficult. As Xiao Hua flew, he secretly pondered, actually, this young master is most troubled by senior sister. This is probably one of the reasons why this young master has not dared to face 100 Herbs sect. AI, senior sister, I wonder how you're doing in 100 Herbs sect? Now that you're in foundation establishment, you shouldn't be too patient. After this young brother kills Jiang Jiantong and Jiang Fan and avenges my master, I'll hand Shang Huaming over to you. Let Shang Huaming revive once again and let Shang Huaming's name shake the Dawn Rain continent. Thinking of this, Xiao Hua unconsciously felt his blood boil. The lightning around his body became more rapid, and the bright thunder escape faintly felt that it had transformed from thunder calm to thunder movement. Not to mention Xiao Hua rushing to Yellow Flower Ridge. In the endless hills in the north of the country of Xi, there was also a rainbow-like ray of light streaking across the sky, shooting into the distance. Its speed did not seem to be any slower than Xiao Hua's. Oh, at this moment, the ray of light suddenly stopped, and the figures of 2 female cultivators appeared. The one in front was the graceful and luxurious 10,000 Demon Realm Empress, and the one in her hand was the lovely Dyer. Empress, why did you stop? Dyer lowered her head and looked at the lifeless hills that looked exactly the same. She said strangely, "There's no trace of human habitation here." The Empress didn't answer. Instead, she just stood there. The hurricane in the air blew past, but it couldn't move the light protecting her body in the slightest. Her furrowed brows didn't lose out to her peerless beauty. Instead, it made people frown and feel pity for her. Unfortunately, it was so desolate. How could anyone have seen it? There seems to be some aura here. The Empress slowly spoke as her figure slowly descended. Her divine sense was scanning the area 100 miles in front of her. Oh, did you find it? Dyer's face was filled with joy. Her small hands were slightly clasped together, and she appeared to be both excited and nervous. I don't know either. The Empress frowned slightly and spread out her divine sense to search the area inch by inch. After searching for more than half a day, the Empress raised her eyebrows and her eyes lit up. She pointed with her hand and said, "There seems to be some reaction there, but it's different from what I thought." "Is it true or not?" Dyer said anxiously. The Empress has been searching for dozens of years and has spent a lot of magic power, but there's no progress at all. I didn't expect to find it here. I'm afraid it's the same as before. It's an empty joy. The Empress smiled and touched Dyer's forehead with her hand. She said, "Didn't you feel it a few times before? But after searching carefully, it's just some remains of the 10,000 demon realm. How can it be what I'm looking for?" Empress, if this lowly servant says it's better to go to the west, isn't there the strong aura of the 10,000 demon realm that Empress said? Maybe he's there. Dyer's big eyes were wide open, and her long eyelashes fluttered like the wings of a butterfly. Sigh. He likes to be quiet and doesn't like to move. The Million Ming Mountains in the Xiaoyu continent have the aura of the 10,000 demon realm. Maybe there are traces of him, but I believe he will never stay there. The Empress sighed. Moreover, I have used the secret technique of my Feng clan. The Million Ming Mountains are our nemesis. If we go there rashly, I'm afraid our lives will be in danger. Ah, Nemesis? Dire stuck out her tongue and looked scared. What's that? Even Empress is afraid of it? Didn't Empress say it before? The cultivators on the Xiaoyu continent are different from our 10,000 demon realm. Even if Empress's strength can't defeat them, it's absolutely no problem for you to escape, right? You little girl, there's nothing absolute in this world. The Empress looked disappointed. She looked up 100 miles away and said, "Back then, I also believed in my own determination. I believed that this heaven and earth were decorations that I wanted to conquer. I believed that my fate was in my own hands. What a pity. Don't talk about the heaven. Don't talk about the earth, even people. I can't force them, even if it's me. I can't control my body and heart." The willows return to the pond. The mandarin ducks leave the pond. The green duckweed breaks the lotus boat's path. The bees and butterflies fall in love with the fragrance, and the red dress gets rid of the bitterness of the heart. The sunset welcomes the tide, and the clouds carry the rain. The gentle and coquettish words. Back then, I refused to marry the spring breeze, but for no reason, I was wronged by the autumn wind. Dyer blurted out and said, "Empress, is it this inexplicable poem?" The Empress's face flushed red. She pretended to be angry and said, "Dyer, how can you say this word so casually?" "Yes, Empress, this servant knows her mistake." Dyer stuck out her tongue and said anxiously, "This servant won't dare to do it again." The Empress nodded. "I'll only listen to it this time. If there's a next time, I'll make sure your soul scatters." "Yes, yes." Dyer was so scared that her face turned green. "Let's go. I'll wait." The Empress put away her cold face and quickly descended. However, there were hundreds of thoughts in her heart. The poem back then, "I refused to marry the spring breeze, but for no reason, I was wronged by the autumn wind," indeed flashed in her mind for no reason. Who is it? Suddenly, a wisp of light green smoke flashed high up in the sky and disappeared. How could this be hidden from the Empress? She scolded softly, and her spiritual sense quickly scanned the place where the smoke was. However, the light green smoke disappeared without a trace like a spring dream. How could she find it? "Let's go." The Empress saw this and suddenly stopped. Without hesitation, she rushed to the sky. However, at this moment, about 10 feet above the Empress's body, a light green brilliance like a fishing net suddenly appeared. It was as if it had been there for a long time. Pong! The Empress's protective brilliance touched the brilliance and immediately broke the brilliance. The Empress's body only paused for a moment before she rushed up again. Swish! There was a faint sound. About 10 feet away, another light green fishing net appeared and blocked the Empress's head. At this time, the Empress had already released her spiritual sense. She already understood that the light green color of the fishing net was not a simple luster. It was formed by many small talismans. She was also very familiar with these talismans. They were the green seal script of the 10,000 demon realm. Break! The Empress pointed her hand. On her finger, a spot of pure white light appeared and turned into a light pillar that rushed up to the brilliance. Sure enough, the light green brilliance dissipated upon contact and broke a large hole. The Empress's body flew out of the hole casually. The brilliance that was broken through also disappeared immediately. However, it was also at this time that another light green brilliance appeared about 10 feet above her head. Not only that, when the Empress stretched out her finger again, layer after layer of light green net that seemed to have been hidden in space long ago gradually revealed itself like layers upon layers of pavilions. They densely covered an area of several thousand feet above the Empress' head. Moreover, these light green brilliances were extremely large. The Empress's spiritual sense could tell that they were more than 100 miles long. Seeing this, the Empress was not nervous at all. Her stretched-out finger trembled slightly, and a fist-sized white brilliance appeared. It turned into a palm-sized feather and shot straight into the sky like an arrow. Pong, pong, pong. A series of sounds rang out. Rays of light were torn apart, and the Empress body flew up along with the feather. Only after flying up 1,000 feet did the feather finally run out of energy and slowly disappear into the air. Go. The Empress did not hesitate and pointed her finger again. The same brilliance appeared and attacked again. However, this time, the feather only flew for a few hundred feet before it disappeared. Obviously, the strength of the light green brilliance was more than twice as strong. See, Empress's eyes narrowed and her face showed a dignified expression. Once again, she stretched out her snow-white hand and patted her forehead. Once again, a palm-sized pure white feather grew out. This feather shone with a holy brilliance, and within it, there was a faint jade-like brilliance that was rotating. Go. The Empress did not hesitate to open her cherry lips. A hurricane was formed, and the feather whistled in the whirlwind and rushed into the layers of light green nets in the sky. Bang, bang, bang. The impact this time was clearly not comparable to the previous one. However, this feather only traveled a distance of 1,000 feet compared to the first one before it let out a wail and disappeared in midair. However, after the mournful wail, hundreds and thousands of light nets were born in the sky. Slowly, they pressed down like snowflakes falling from the sky. Empress Dai, who was holding the Empress's hand, was a little anxious. Finally, she could not help but whisper, "Hurry up and fly away. Don't worry about this servant." Shut up. The Empress snorted coldly and her body suddenly descended. This world was very strange. As long as the Empress flew downwards, the light green brilliance did not seem to obstruct her. In fact, it did not even appear. When the Empress flew down and was about 100 feet away, the brilliance immediately flashed and blocked the Empress's head. Wong, a huge gust of wind blew. The Empress's body was like the eye of the wind. Countless amounts of heaven and earth spiritual chi were sucked into her body. However, as the heaven and earth spiritual chi was sucked in, the Empress's body gradually shrank. In just a few breaths, all the heaven and earth spiritual chi within 100 miles was sucked into the Empress's body. However, the heaven and earth spiritual chi outside 100 miles was blocked by the light green brilliance and could not penetrate at all. -8. Chapter 2205. Who? The instant the spiritual energy of heaven and earth came to a standstill, the Empress figure suddenly turned faint. The faint figure twisted within the hurricane, and a layer of faint figure appeared. The Empress seemed to want to merge with the wind, and floated to the edge of the green brilliance. Unfortunately, no matter how the Empress cast the spell, her figure could only turn faint and could not disappear. This couldn't help but cause a trace of surprise to flash through the Empress' calm eyes. This was naturally the wind escape technique that the Empress gave to Xiao Hua. At this moment, when the Empress used it, it was an earth-shattering difference. In just the blink of an eye, the Empress flew more than 10 li away. In just a few breaths of time, the Empress had already flown to the edge of the green net. However, at this moment, the Empress figure could no longer maintain the previous state of invisibility. After a series of ripples, her figure gradually became visible, and her face that was originally white as snow became even whiter, and her eyes were filled with doubt and regret. It seemed that the wind escape technique's speed and effect were far from what she had expected. Rumble. With a series of earth-shaking rumbles, dark green pillars of light that were as thick as bowls appeared in front of the Empress, like heavenly pillars that could shake the heavens and earth. They shot up from the ground and pierced straight into the sky, fusing together with the light green brilliance. The Empress knew that this was a crucial moment and didn't dare to hesitate any longer. She tossed her hand, and a fist-sized jade seagull appeared in her hand. She spat out a mouthful of blood, and the jade seagull immediately became alive. It flapped its wings, and those scissor-like wings streaked across the sky, leaving behind traces of cracks. Transform, as the jade seagull flew in front of her, the Empress figure floated up again. The jade seagull cut through hundreds of light pillars, and the Empress also flew more than 100 zhong. Like the net of light, the light pillars became more and more solid as they approached the outer layer. That jade seagull that could tear space finally crashed into a light pillar and stopped. It let out a mournful cry like a feather, and its brilliance faded away. It retreated back into a magic treasure and fell into the Empress' hand. Rise. A cold glint flashed through the Empress' eyes. She pointed her finger again, and a burst of pure white light flashed from her body. Two illusory figures emerged from the Empress' back. They were actually a pair of wings that were over 100 feet in size. Whoosh! The wings on the Empress' back flapped, and the Empress flew up once more. With a series of loud bangs, she broke through the dozen or so light pillars in front of her once more. However, the Empress' protective brilliance flickered repeatedly. Clearly, it couldn't hold on any longer. When the pillars of light collapsed, the Empress stopped in midair. She looked at the sparse pillars of light in front of her. Her eyes widened slightly, and the black pupils in her eyes almost covered her entire eyes. Go! The Empress scolded softly and shook her left hand. The jade seagull floated in the air. The Empress threw it with her right hand and Er's body involuntarily fell into the jade seagull. Then, another figure separated from the Empress and landed in the jade seagull. The jade seagull instantly emitted an extremely brilliant brilliance and disappeared on the spot. Ha ha ha, a hoarse voice echoed in the air. A dark green brilliance quickly appeared and hit the pillars of light. Ripples appeared in the gaps between the pillars of light, and then a pitch-black spatial crack appeared. The pure white jade seagull's body was faintly discernible. It only appeared for a moment before the jade seagull disappeared again. With a strange sound, fellow cultivator Dong Shan appeared in the void wearing a cloak. A strange sound came from within the cloak. It was the strange green seal text. Suddenly, it seemed to be pulled by a mysterious hand. At the end of the pillar of light, the void rapidly swelled like boiling water. Bubbles rushed out one after another. Rather than saying that the jade seagull came out with the bubbles, it was more accurate to say that it was squeezed out. However, at the same time the jade seagull appeared, the Empress figure also broke free from the jade seagull. She also formed a seal, and the jade seagull rushed into the distance again. Ha ha ha, Xianwan. You even left your avatar behind. You still want to let the little girl escape? The strange green seal text was emitted once again, but the light pillars near the Empress avatar collapsed and came crashing down. The Empress avatar did not dare to be careless, and at the same time the light exploded, her figure suddenly flew downwards. With a loud bang, several pillars of light hit the jade seagull first. The sturdy jade seagull actually cracked and stopped in midair. Then, the pillars of light smashed towards the Empress avatar. It seemed to want to separate the avatar from the Empress. But how could the Empress dare to let fellow cultivator Dong Shan's plan succeed? She closed her eyes and slowly emitted a milky white brilliance, gradually filling the entire sky. The Empress avatar quickly dodged the pillars of light and used the 5 elements escape technique to rush underground. You want to take back your avatar? Xianwan, your imagination is too wonderful. Fellow cultivator Dong Shan's hoarse voice sounded again. This seat set up the array for a long time. Not only did it isolate the world's spiritual energy, but it also restricted magic power and divine sense. But it still let you break through here. Your Wind Clan's divine ability is indeed powerful. The Empress didn't answer. Her beautiful, slender neck slightly bent, and her phoenix eyes closed even more. Her long eyelashes trembled, and the milky white brilliance on her body became even more flourishing. Fellow cultivator Dong Shan naturally knew that the Empress was accumulating power. The hands hidden in his Taoist robe stretched out, and a light green brilliance flashed in his black, hairy palms. Pillars of light formed between the Empress avatar and her main body. At this moment, the light green brilliance in the air like a fishing net also fell, surrounding the Empress like an inescapable net. Wong wong wong. A rumbling sound came from the ground beneath the Empress' feet. With a loud bang, it was as if the world was collapsing. Countless ink-green brilliance splashed everywhere like ink. The Empress avatar rushed out from the ground and without any suspense, rushed into the Empress' main body. At the same time the avatar rushed into the main body, the milky white brilliance around the Empress was as brilliant as the sun. It suddenly expanded, and a pure white swan that was over 1,000 feet in length stretched out its beautiful body in the sun. As the swan straightened her slender neck, her wings also spread open. The halo of her wings was actually over 100 feet white. At this moment, the flapping of her wings wasn't an ordinary hurricane, but a mysterious fluctuation. Following the fluctuation, the surrounding green brilliance began to revolve. From time to time, it would collapse, and a black and white pattern would strangely appear in the air. With a sound, the swan stretched out her neck and let out a long cry. Her graceful body rushed into the black and white pattern. The swan's brilliance gradually disappeared, and her body also disappeared into the black and white. Go! Fellow Taoist East Mountain, who had been motionless all this time, suddenly moved. An equally mysterious ripple surged around him, and the ripple seemed to cause the surrounding space to collapse. Fellow Taoist East Mountain's cloak also disappeared, and a huge black wolf appeared in midair. -8. Chapter 2206. The black wolf raised its head and howled. At this time, the moon was already high up in the sky. As the black wolf howled, countless rays of moonlight poured into the black wolf's body. Woo! A strange sound accompanied the dark green seal text rushing into the black and white lines where the swan was. Clearly, there was a layer of restriction around the swan's light. The fluctuations were easily blocked. However, the green seal text was like a worm. It first stuck to the surface, then burrowed into it. Once the green seal text burrowed in, the black wolf standing in midair immediately stopped howling. It actually raised its head, its black eyes flashing with cruelty and calmness. Sure enough, the swan's light was still dim, but the pure white body within the light began to tremble. At first, it was like an itch, then like a ripple, and finally, it trembled violently. The swan that had disappeared long ago reappeared in the black and white lines. Immediately, the black and white lines began to tremble as well. Black and white were no longer clearly separated, but gradually blurred and turned gray. Pung! Another loud sound rang out from afar. Oh! Hei Lang raised his head in confusion, only to see the jade gull that was previously suspended in midair suddenly explode. Dyer, who was inside the jade gull, rushed out of the dark green light pillar like an arrow under the protection of a pure white brilliance. Hee, do you think you can escape? The black wolf spoke in human language, but his voice was still hoarse. He slightly opened his mouth, and a dark green pillar of light suddenly appeared in midair, piercing through the pure white light. With a scream, Dyer could no longer maintain her human form. A pale yellow, duck-like demon beast appeared, and a fist-sized bloody hole appeared in her neck. However, the pure white light was not over yet. It continued to fly forward. Just as the black wolf was about to attack again, a clear cry rang out. The swan's body had completely retreated into the black wolf's formation. But following the swan's cry, an extremely pure white light appeared and shot straight at the black wolf. Ha ha ha, the black wolf looked up to the sky and laughed. Xianwan, you're a cornered beast. You've been hit by the heavenly heart erosion. Can your innate holy light last? As expected, the white light was pure and holy when it first appeared around the swan, but after flying a few feet, it immediately turned into a pitch-black spot. As it flew further away, the pitch-black spot continued to expand. By the time it reached the black wolf, most of it was pitch black. The black wolf howled at the black and white radiance, and all of the radiance dissipated. A heavenly sound rose from the swan. The swan's body shook a little, and very elegantly stretched its neck, gradually transforming into a human form. However, this human form was several times taller than the previous queen's body, and had a pair of pure white wings on its back. Of course, there were now some pitch-black spots of light on his wings. Dongshan Yi, you've chased me from the demon realm all the way to Xiaoyu continent. In the end, I still fell into your trap. Xianwan, 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 dang, Xianwan, dang. Xianwan. The black wolf named Dongshani roared, as if he was very unhappy with Xianwan's safety. At this time, he was also in human form, but different from Xianwan. He was about the same height as Xianwan, but his head was that of a black wolf. However, from the looks of it, he was also a female. Seeing Dongshani so angry, Xianwan was still calm. Dongshan Yi, do you have any questions? Why did you imprison me? Hee, you finally asked. Dongshani sneered. I thought you were always high up, always indifferent to everything. You're always looking up. Xianwan's eyes were like water, looking at Dongshan Yi pitifully, as if she was the ruler of the scene. You're not running anymore? Dongshan Yi was very dissatisfied with Xianwan's reaction and mocked. Why should I run? Xianwan laughed. Now, there's only you from the demon realm in Xiaoyu continent. If I go, who will you talk to? You can really run? Dongshan Yi was still mocking. Isn't your phone clan born with the ability to travel through the void? Why don't you try again? Since I failed once, why try again? Xianwan actually used her hand to comb her ink-black hair and said with a smile, Xianwan, are you always so calm? Did you not get angry when you found out you were trapped? Did you not have any doubts when you found out about the array of the demon realm? Did you find that you can't escape, that you're in danger of your body being destroyed, that your primordial spirit dissipating, that you can't enter reincarnation? You didn't panic? Dongshan Yi's voice was stern. I did. Xianwan continued unhurriedly. However, this matter is not under this consort's control. So what can this consort do? You. Dongshan Yi's eyes flashed with malice. Don't worry. Since you've fallen into my hands, I will make you beg for death. That's your idea. Xianwan stretched, as if she was relieved. But it has nothing to do with me. Wu Dongshan Yi opened her mouth and a strange sound came out. Hundreds of thin green threads were born from the array and wrapped around Xianwan. Xianwan was not nervous at all. The wings on her back spread out slightly and white light pierced the air like flying swords. She completely blocked the green threads 10 feet away. Unfortunately, it was only for a moment. Black spots like rust and mold appeared on the light swords and quickly spread throughout the light swords. The light swords then collapsed and disappeared into nothingness. Then, all the green threads fell on Xianwan's body and gradually disappeared. A painful expression appeared on Xianwan's slightly raised lips. A kind of pitiful pain appeared on her eyebrows. Seeing Xianwan's incomparable elegance, Dongshan Yi's anger could not help but burn. Her body began to tremble. Layers of small green seal text appeared from her mouth and followed the path of the green threads into Xianwan's body. Ouch! Xianwan could not help but moan. Her body trembled and fell down. Her pure white wings trembled and protected her body. How is it? The pain of the heart is not something that anyone can endure. Do you still want to endure in front of me? Dongshani smiled coldly. Her body also began to tremble because of the frequent use of green seal text. However, this trembling was far from the jealousy in her heart. It was also far from the pleasure of seeing Xianwan moan. Unfortunately, Xianwan did not care at all. Her entire body continued to tremble. The pure white brilliance flickered several times, just like her trembling eyelashes. Ha ha ha, Xianwan. What else do you have to say? Do you think you're stronger than me? Dongshani laughed again. Her ferocious wolf head was especially ugly under the moonlight. How did you come to the Dawn Rain continent? A faint, still elegant voice that was obviously enduring pain sounded. My 10,000 demon realms demon race cannot come to the Dawn Rain continent with their true bodies. How did you do it? Ga. Dongshan Yi laughed proudly. I thought you were the ice lotus on the ice mountain, proud and aloof for 10,000 years. It turns out you have curiosity too. I just want to hear it. If you don't want to say it, you don't have to. Xianwan still replied indifferently. Humph, if your true body can come, why can't I? Dongshan Yi sneered. Ah, you were following me? Xianwan was stunned. You also noticed that short space crack? Why didn't I see your aura? More than just following? Dongshani laughed. Don't tell me you haven't heard of the dream-changing water's ability? Oh, since you used the lizard race's secret treasure, it's normal that I couldn't find it. Xianwan's indifferent tone made Dongshan Yi's anger rise again. Don't you want to know how you were hit by my heavenly heart erosion? Dongshan Yi sneered. Yes, I am indeed surprised. It seems like my holy light has always been protecting my body. How did your heavenly heart erosion get in? Hee, do you still need to say it? Naturally, it's time for your avatar to come out. Dongshani pointed proudly and laughed. Why don't you take a look? Isn't your holy light corroded enough here? Xie Yu's eyes widened. Sure enough, where her body touched the ground, the pure white brilliance began to shrink. The black spots on the brilliance began to emit fine lines that extended towards the ground. It was clear that the ground was covered in heavenly heart erosion. Dongshani, you've really been scheming. Xianwan sighed. You set up arrays in the air and all around to prevent me from escaping. There were also faint magic power fluctuations on the ground that seemed to be even stronger than the ones in the air. You made it so that I didn't dare to rashly fly down. When my avatar came out and wanted to forcibly escape, I deliberately left it with a chance of survival. Then, you prevented it from merging with my true body. However, my avatar was already tainted with a trace of heavenly heart erosion the moment it entered the ground. If my avatar didn't merge, your heavenly heart erosion wouldn't have been able to invade my holy light, right? So much so that you were certain you could kill this queen's avatar? Kikik. Dongshani laughed. Exactly. Although your avatar is powerful, this is not the 10,000 demon realm. It's already good that you can use 10% of your magic power. My formation is also used to restrict your divine ability, so it's not difficult for me to kill your divine incarnation. If you discover the heavenly heart erosion, I will naturally kill your avatar. Xianwan without her avatar is even less of a match for me. If I'm hit by the heavenly heart erosion, won't I fall into your trap? Xianwan sighed. What do you want to do? My Wind clan and your Dongshan clan don't seem to have any deep hatred. I've only met you a few times. There are many demon clans in the 10,000 demon realm. Which demon clan doesn't have hatred between them? Although the Wind clan is a higher clan, they're not friends with my Dongshan clan. Dongshani sneered. I have my own plans for capturing you. I just don't know if you'll cooperate. If you like this work, you're welcome to vote for it at Chidian. Calm. -8. Chapter 2207. How do you want me to cooperate? Xianwan asked. If I agree, will you let me go? Dongshan Yi's eyes were filled with joy as he laughed strangely. Xianwan, this doesn't seem to be your style. You're actually proposing conditions to me? There's a saying in Dawn Rain Continent, how can a person not bow under the eaves? Xianwan said softly, since I'm here, I naturally have to seek survival. If you have anything to say, just say it. Good, straightforward. Dongshani nodded. As long as you agree to my request, I'll make a blood oath to let you go. Well, say it. I don't need you to make a blood oath. In Dawn Rain Continent, your blood oath might not be useful. You have to answer 3 questions. Dongshani said impatiently. Oh? Hearing Dongshani's question, Xianwan's trembling eyelashes suddenly rose, revealing a pair of beautiful eyes. The pupils in these beautiful eyes were actually slightly yellow, a kind of pure gold color. The first question is, why did you come to Dawn Rain Continent alone? Dongshani asked. I saw you step into the space crack without hesitation, and your face seemed to be filled with joy. I'm here for a private matter. I'm afraid I can't tell you. Xianwan shook her head. This matter has nothing to do with you, so don't ask. Good. Dongshani nodded. This is not what I wanted to ask, but since you answered so honestly, I'm satisfied. What about the second question? The second question is naturally the heavenly feather sacred world. Dongshan Yi laughed. Where is the sacred object of your Wind clan? The heavenly pure feather? Why are you coveting my heavenly feather sacred world? Xianwan was shocked and asked curiously, that's a place only people of my upper clan can go. Why are you going there? You don't need to ask where I'm going. You just need to tell me where the heavenly pure feather is. Dongshan Yi grinned. Xianwan shook her head. Although I'm the previous saintess of the Wind clan, after marrying Emosa, I lost the qualification of saintess. I don't know where this heavenly pure feather is. Don't think that I don't know anything. Dongshan Yi sneered. The heavenly pure feather is the Wind Clan Saintess' natal spiritual feather. You were the previous Saintess. How could you not know where it is? Hee. Since you know the origin of the pure sky feather, you naturally know the purity of the pure sky feather. How do you explain this? Why must you force this consort to answer? The smile on Xianwan's face was like 100 flowers blooming. Why would I ask you if I knew? Dongshan Yi spat out the strange green seal script syllables again. Xianwan frowned in pain again. His shy smile was gone, and all that was left was pain. Dongshan Yi, the heavenly pure feather is the Saintess' holy purity. As long as yang qi enters the body, the heavenly pure feather will immediately be tainted and lose the qualifications to enter the heavenly feather sacred world. Xia Ying smiled bitterly. I've been in Qin Shui Palace for many years, so how can I still have the heavenly pure feather? Otherwise, wouldn't my Wind Clan have many heavenly pure feathers? So that's how it is. Dongshan Yi suddenly understood, but a look of regret appeared on his face. Oh, I understand. Xianwan seemed to have only just realized. You risked your body to cultivate the green seal script to this level. You want to go to the heavenly feather sacred world. Ha ha ha, that's right. Dongshan Yi laughed. Don't you think the green seal script is very powerful? Whether it's the 10,000 demon realm or the Dawn Rain continent, there are unfathomable powerful beings. If I go to the heavenly feather sacred world and eliminate the hidden dangers of the green seal script, wouldn't I be able to dominate the 10,000 demon realm? Difficult. Xianwan shook her head again. Although I've never been to the heavenly feather sacred world, I know that the green seal script is listed as a forbidden technique in the 10,000 demon realm. Even powerful beings don't dare to try it. Even if you go to the heavenly feather sacred world, I'm afraid you won't succeed. Then what about Demon King Emosaz? Void Sea Primordial Water? Dongshan Yi asked immediately. Ha ha ha, Xianwan laughed when she heard this. It was a rare laugh. I finally know your plan. I also know why you're so scheming. That's right, that's my plan. Dongshan Yi answered without hesitation. Since you know, you'd better answer honestly, but... Xianwan stopped laughing and covered her heaving chest with her hand. She shook her head and said, the Void Sea Primordial Water is naturally in the Mo-Sa Palace's treasury. This consort will naturally be able to answer you. Humph, don't try to play tricks with me. Dongshan Yi sneered. Anyone who has eyes and ears in the 10,000 demon realm knows about Demon King Mo-Sa's Mo-Sa Palace. But who knows where the treasury is and how to enter it? As Demon King Mo-Sa's most beloved concubine, you should know this secret. Of course I know. Xianwan nodded. But why should I tell you? If Mo-Sa knows that I revealed the secret of the treasury, do you think I'll be better off than this? Not necessarily. Dongshan Yi tempted. Who knows if it was you who leaked it? I only need a drop of primordial water. You're daydreaming. Xianwan shook her head again. It's not like you don't know Mo-Sa's methods. Wouldn't it be fine if I just search your soul? Yes, if you can search my soul, why are you wasting time with me? Xianwan answered indifferently. Sigh, Dongshan Yi shook her head. Looks like you won't tell me even if I break my mouth. Then I can only tell you the truth. Tell me what? Xianwan raised her eyebrows. I know about the dark flower. And I know it's in the Dawn Rain continent. Dongshan Yi's eyes were bright as she stared at Xianwan. Xianwan couldn't help but exclaim. You? How do you know? There's no such thing as an airtight wall in this world. No news can be hidden from others. Even if Demon King Mo-Sa doesn't know, others might know. Dongshan Yi clearly knew what Xianwan wanted to ask. She said proudly, if there are only a few people who know about you and the dark flower, I'm one of them. What? If you tell me the location of the treasure trove, and even give me the primordial water, I'll tell you about the dark flower. Xianwan's eyes moved, but they were hazy like water for a moment. She immediately shook her head and said, now is now, and then is then. I have a clear conscience. Even if Mo-Sa knows, I'm not afraid. Why should I be afraid of your coercion? Who is the dark flower? If he's in the Dawn Rain continent, how could he let you know? Yes, Dongshan Yi nodded. You're indeed an ice beauty. Even someone as strong as the dark flower can't escape your beautiful eyes. You really can't be moved by this news. However, since I want you to have a clear understanding of what I'm doing, I'll tell you. I'll reveal a little to you. That dark flower founded a sect in the Dawn Rain continent. -8. Chapter 2208. Founded. Ming? Xian Wan said she didn't care, but she couldn't help but wonder. With the power of the dark flower, this sect was actually founded? Yes, indeed. This sect has been destroyed. Dongshani nodded. It was a very small sect. Not many people on the Dawn Rain continent have heard of it. Xian Wan nodded slightly. Hee, Dongshani laughed. The beloved concubine of the Demon Realm's Demon King Sa traveled the Dawn Rain continent for decades just to find the dark flower. If this were to spread, people would laugh their heads off. Xian Wan didn't answer. Don't you want to know the name of that sect? Dongshani laughed. No. Xian Wan shook her head. That has nothing to do with me. All right, this information will be a gift. Dongshani laughed again. That sect is called Death Flower Ming. Sigh, what a strange name. I thought for a long time but still couldn't figure it out. Ha ha ha, Xian Wan laughed happily, her bright wings trembling violently. What are you laughing at? Dongshan-yi was stunned by Xian Wan's incomparable happiness. I'm laughing at you. You don't have any information about the dark flower. You're just relying on the name of a destroyed sect. Xian Wan exposed the truth. Dongshan-yi was unmoved and coldly said, if you want to deceive me about the whereabouts of the dark flower, then you're underestimating me. Forget it. I'm not going to talk about this with you. I said that I'm just casually telling you because I want you to know that what I know and what I want to do is not something you can stop. I know, go ahead. A rare smile appeared on Xian Wan's face. Dongshan Yi's eyes widened and she pointed. Do you know what formation you're in now? Of course I didn't know, but I can see that you used a forbidden technique and vaguely know. This is probably some 8 desolation imprisonment formation, right? Xian Wan said with a smile. That's right. You really are the holy maiden of the Wind Clan, Demon King Sa's beloved concubine. Dongshani clapped. You even know about this ancient formation. I'm flattered, Xian Wan said with a smile. It's a pity that it's too late, otherwise, there's no need to say anything else. Dongshan-yi waved his hand. This seat knows of your Wind Clan's wind escape secret technique. I've long sealed off the wind here. As he spoke, he pointed his hand. Below the hill in the distance, a hazy green ring of light supported a yellow bead. Sigh, no wonder. You actually got the air-frozen bead of the mountain tribe. No wonder this queen couldn't fully display her wind escape technique. Xian Wan exclaimed in realization. It seems you've been planning this for a long time. Not bad. Dongshani laughed coldly. I'm telling you all this because I want to tell you that this isn't all I have. This 8 desolate spirit imprisonment array is far from the 8 desolate spirit imprisonment array that you think it is. It's the Universal Spirit Exchange Array. Universe Spirit Exchange Array? Xian Wan was a little confused. What's the difference? Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Dongshan-yi laughed loudly, his body trembling. That strange mouth looked especially strange under the full moon. Strange. Xian Wan shook his head slightly. Xian Wan, think about it. If your holy body had a filthy primordial spirit, the primordial spirit of a prostitute, the primordial spirit of a promiscuous woman, think about it. Your pure white body being trampled on by the filthy Dawn Rain continent's lowly commoners. What are you thinking? Dongshan Yi's eyes flashed with a thoughtful cunningness, as well as the complacency of his scheme succeeding. You. Xian Wan really didn't expect Dongshan Yi to have such a dark idea. He was truly shocked. His face also showed a panic that had never appeared before. How about it? Think about it. A body that Demon King Masa coveted was actually trampled on by a lowly commoner of the mortal realm. A pair of lips that even Dark Flower lost itself in was actually tasted by a lowly commoner. What a joke that is. If Demon King Masa finds out about this, do you think Your situation will be any worse than if he finds out that you leaked his treasury in order to preserve your loyalty to him. If you force me to do this, even if you could return to Demon King Moss's side in the future, would you still have the face to live in this world? If that's the case, you might as well give me the Void Sea primordial water. Dong Shanyi's voice became more and more illusory, as if some faint green light was flying out. Ha ha ha. Only at this moment did Xianwan begin to laugh. A holy brilliance emerged from her body and quickly spread out from her body. The sound of wind and thunder suddenly filled the air. Following the sound of wind and thunder, the light transformed into strands of light that quickly wrapped around Xianwan. Exine cocoon? Dongshan Yi was shocked. Demon King Masa actually gave this to you? You actually don't care about the price? Do you not want to live anymore? Sure and coquettish language. Back then, I refused to marry the spring wind, but for no reason, I was misunderstood by the autumn wind. A murmured song came out of Xianwan's mouth. Her holy wings slowly retracted, wrapping around her body. Then, the cocoon of light returned to her body. Xianwan's eyes carried a look of unflinching death and a bit of attachment. The golden light in her eyes gradually dimmed, but in the dimness, it hid a scene from an unknown time ago. A figure as handsome as jade, standing between the heavens and earth. From afar, it looked abnormally shy, and its wings were like a frightened person. That small person's face was as red as the sun, and a low voice came. This concubine's nickname is Shang-Er. Only this concubine's deceased parents know. You are the only one in this world who knows. Xianwan scolded Dong Shani, saying that Shang Huaming was just a fabrication by Dong Shani, but her heart was filled with sweetness. It was as if every breath she took revealed her longing for that person, that demon, in that pure and holy light. Wanna die? Not so easy. Dong Shani sneered, and the strange rhythm of the green seal script came out of her mouth again. The entire formation began to tremble, and threads of dark green light appeared out of thin air, embedding themselves into Xianwan's body, blocking the light of the cocoon. However, at that moment, Dong Shanyi's body trembled violently, and an even darker green mist seeped out of her body. Roar! Incomparable pain, unbearable pain of the soul, arose from the depths of Dong Shanyi's body. Dong Shani couldn't help but raise her head and howl. That howl seemed to tear the space of the formation apart. Taking advantage of this gap, the cocoon quickly shrank, wrapping around Xianwan into a large cocoon of light. The light of the cocoon of light gradually faded and gradually became colorless. However, streaks of green light were faintly discernible within it, making it appear even more bizarre. Half of the night had passed, and the full moon had already set. An extremely bright star was twinkling in the sky as the first rays of dawn approached. Dong Shan Yi had returned to her original cloaked appearance. Looking at the cocoon of light on the ground, Dong Shan Yi's eyes narrowed, and she said coldly, Xianwan, you think you can seal yourself with a cocoon? If I want to do something, no one can stop me. As Dong Shani pointed with his finger, the green light seemed to come alive and slowly flowed. It was actually made up of tiny green seal characters. Woo! In the void, the green net that had disappeared long ago reappeared, falling layer by layer on top of the cocoon of light. The surrounding light pillars also fell, and also smashed onto the green net. The cocoon of light gradually shrank into the ground, and not long after, there were no traces of last night's fierce battle, not even a trace of strange fluctuation. Even if Xianwan passed by here again, she still couldn't detect the strangeness. Xiaoyu continent. It's still not the 10,000 demon realm. Dong Shani sighed. No wonder the demons can't pass through the spatial crack with their bodies. The spiritual energy here is very thin. As she spoke, her figure gradually disappeared, like water being splashed. Dongshan Yi naturally didn't know if Shang Huaming was created by Ming Hua, but it was just as Xianwan thought. But was Xianwan's idea just a delusion? Or was she the same as Dongshan Yi, who did business because of culture? Even Xianwan herself couldn't explain it clearly. As for Shang Huaming, the two guests from the 10,000 demon realm were worried about. Just as Dongshani said, He disappeared in a flash among the thousands of cultivation sects on the Xiaoyu continent. However, Yellow Flower Ridge was still there, and the legend of immortals was still there. The charming white fog was still there. However, today, under the scorching noon sun, a gust of wind blew through the mountain forest where the white fog was. A passage appeared in the white fog that never dissipated all year round. A beautiful middle-aged female cultivator floated out of the white fog. If it wasn't for the worried expression on her face and her brows furrowed, she would definitely look like an elegant fairy. This person was none other than Xiao Xinrui, who was at the early stage of foundation establishment. Xiao Xinrui left Yellow Flower Ridge and released her divine sense. After looking for a moment, she took out a communication talisman and a jade slip from her storage bag. After looking through them with her divine sense, she flew towards the back mountain of Yellow Flower Ridge. It was the place where Xiao Hua hid when he first escaped from Yellow Flower Ridge. In the other direction of Yellow Flower Ridge, a communication talisman was secretly sent out. Just like Xiao Hua, Xiao Xinrui's figure landed in the wilderness. However, Xiao Xinrui didn't look for it with her eyes, but with her divine sense. After waiting for a moment, Xiao Xinrui's eyes lit up and she flew towards a cliff. She saw that this cliff was very steep, and there was a huge rock outside the protruding cliff. On top of the huge rock, there was a small green robe. Xiao Xinrui flew onto the huge rock and stretched out her hand. She held the green robe in her hand, but her eyes looked at the dark cave in front of her and hesitated. Then she gritted her teeth and slowly walked in. The inside of the cave was quite big, wide enough for several people. After walking for a while, it suddenly opened up, and a space like an immortal's cave was revealed. And this immortal's cave was very obvious. It should have just been opened. Yu Tsong, I am here. You can show yourself. Xiao Xinrui slowly walked to the center of the immortal's cave, looked around, and coldly called out. However, her voice only floated within 3 feet of the immortal's cave and didn't spread out at all. Xiao Xinrui seemed to be a little flustered and didn't notice at all. Ha ha ha, Sister Xiao, you finally came. You made me wait for so long. A burly cultivator who looked like a farmer suddenly appeared from a corner. Xiao Xinrui actually didn't see what kind of magic he used. -8.